Board games, board games, it's what I'm talking about. Board games, board games, I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing, and today I'm going to take a look at what I thought of this and the other book. Where is the other? I can't see it now. Where did I put it? Did it fall down? Oh, there it is. There's the other book. And I'll be talking about this game from Haba. Rocks is a game where you claim one card after another. Rocks is a game all about speed, and you need to make sure that you're correct indeed. I'll give some current thoughts about this one too. If you want to play with 3 players, it's not a game for you because it's only got 2 players on the box, and I would 100% agree that with that thoughts I might talk about Chocolate Factory, what I think, even though I made this game and hopefully it doesn't stink. I'll talk about Hanamakuji and Jixi Academy. The fact that these 2 games are mechanically identical was a shock to me. I might briefly mention Movable Type. It was republished. Does it deserve the hype? I mean, hype's a weird word when this game didn't really get any. But regardless, I'll say it's a fun game for me. And I'll talk about... Sorry about this. I'll talk about Inhuman Conditions, which I've only played 3 times. It's my first impressions, and maybe you'll hear some of mine. And I'll talk about Tapestry, or at least the rule sheet, and why I haven't reviewed it yet. Maybe that'll be a treat. But regardless, board games and reviewing things, it's what I'm talking about. Board games and opinions. I'm not gonna shout. Hello! Hello everyone, I hope that you're having a wonderful day. Of course, I am BEZ. We are blethering about board games. This is, it could be bath time if you want to take a bath. I'm not going to stop you. I just, needed another word to start with B, but yeah, I'm kind of regretting that thing now. But coming up today, I'm reviewing stuff, giving current thoughts, first impressions, all that sorts of stuff. And yep, if you're watching, then let me know how you are. Are you having a good day? Because what have you been up to? And even if you're watching this not live, maybe in your heart, think, what have I enjoyed recently? Because life isn't all bad. Sometimes there's some stuff that we can enjoy when we get into the recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights. Recent highlights, living life and playing games and other delights. Recent highlights. Yesterday I was having birthday, and yeah, it was lovely. I kind of came back home. I finished off. I had a good chunk of an Indian meal, which had been bought for 2 people. But yeah, I had that. I kind of saw my housemates briefly, and then I basically watched Dave Gorman. That was pretty much it. And I slept quite a bit, and I chatted to my dad, and I managed to organize what I'm doing for Christmas. And I have decided that Christmas I am going to head over, but I don't think it should affect any of the streams. So actually, I am going to delete or maybe move at least the period of greater uncertainty, because there is still a bit of uncertainty about you know, look, if I get some sort of medical appointment, I'm going to stop one of these shows, and my well-being always has to come first. But yep, we'll probably carry on doing this thing 10 a.m. every day until for a while. Anyway, let's talk about brilliant things. Brilliant things. What's a little thing which is brilliant? Brilliant things, like talking about schedules. I guess I wanted to talk about, yeah, why do I schedule things? I mean, schedules, I do really enjoy kind of having that certainty that, okay, at this time of this day, I'm going to be at least aiming to go live at least, 9:40. I try to be in front of my computer. I try to be setting things up. Sometimes I've let it slip, but if I can't, whether I'm ready or not, 10 o'clock, states would say 10:01, but 10 o'clock, boom, I go live. And for me, having that certainty and having that, even if no one's watching, as might be the case today, it's like, it's something to look forward to. It's something to say, yeah, I can do this, and this is a good thing to do. Now, let me move on and interview myself, assuming no one else is here. If anyone else has any questions, then feel free to pop them in. But I'm going to interview myself with the questionably quick questions. Okay, so why do I make games? Why do I make games? Well, that's a big question. I wish I'd prepared for this interview. What kind of left field questions are you asking me? And now I need to kind of simultaneously think of the next question or what I'm going to do next, whilst also talking about why I make games. So the reason that I make games, I think it's all about, I guess, firstly, seeing the pleasure in other people's faces, like feeling like, wow, some people had fun, and if it were not for me, those people would not be having this particular fun. Do you know what I mean? It's like, hey, these people, they are enjoying enjoying contorting themselves, or they are enjoying the visitor cards in Welcome to Dino World, or hey, there's some people and they're actually getting something out of the fiction for Welded Iron, which, anyway, the point is that people, I believe, the games that I believe it's this might sound very egotistical, but I believe that the world is a better place for me making some of the things that I've made. I believe that Wibble has brought families together, like the fact that thanks to the negative feedback loop, thanks to the handicap mechanism, thanks to the fact that, yep, it starts off your parents with a couple of extra cards and then like a 5-year-old can compete. Thanks to these things, Wibble bringing people together, or categorical, like people being able to excel and then say, hey, let's have a round all about Pokemon. And or even when they're just talking about animals, because fictional animals are allowed as well, then they talk about Pokemon, and it's like, hey, here's a chance for me to excel. And it's like allowing people to have that fun, potentially with Seize the Power, allowing people to change their viewpoints. And I believe that my game, hopefully, what I aim for is ultimately to make the world a better place. And I know that sounds very far reaching, and it doesn't have to be. Sometimes it's just okay, the world is a better place insofar as one person who might not have had a particular session of fun is having a fun session, and oh, it's like these people are enjoying this thing. But recently I do wonder about like the whole notion of, yeah, kind of how everything has to be crafted, like everything has to take away the Earth's resources, and then we're using plastic and everything. Oh, and hello, Room to Your Dome Gaming. I have no opinion about that person you're mentioning, So I have no clue who that is, but if we could try and keep it somewhat board game focused, then that would be appreciated. But it's lovely to see you drop in. Anyway, in terms of why I actually make games, I guess it's partially just to, try and make the world a better place. Also, partially from an egotistical point of view, the rush that I get when I hear other people having enjoyed those things. And it's also partially my own curiosity. It's like, what happens if like there was this kind of auction mechanism? Today we're talking more about board games. So I'm going to add on my second camera in just a minute, and I will show you. You're catching me at a very unprepared moment. Sundays and Fridays are always my less prepared times. And I don't know that person. Okay, hold on a moment. I will look this person up. Mike Oxnell, Board Game Geek, and nope, Oxmal. Maybe I'll look up Sorry on Board Game Geek just to. Okay, so Sorry on Board Game Geek doesn't have the no, designer of Sorry was Paul T. Haskell Jr. and William Henry Story. So I can type that into the chat. So the creator of the game Sorry, according to Board Game Geek at least, was these two people. And so, but so I still don't have any opinion on Mike Oxmal. But regarding the game Sorry, I don't care much for it. I believe that it's a bit too much randomness and not enough agency for my particular liking. Now we're going to scoosh this back and bring the games that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about Chocolate Factory. I'm going to talk about Gypsy Academy and Hanamakoji. I'm going to talk about Inhuman Conditions. I'm going to talk about Movable Type, which is a word game, and Province, which is a lovely two-player game, and Rocks, which is a game for children, but has quite a bit to it. This book about games, and this book about games, and I will briefly mention the Tapestry rule sheet. Okay, so sorry for all the clatter, and if you have any other questionably quick questions, which by which I mean a question that could have a quick answer, but I will normally drag it out for a wee bit, then do feel free to ask. And I hope you're having a good day, regardless. Let me talk about, as I said before, if you've got any recent highlights or anything that you want to share, keep it family friendly, then feel free to, share it and think to yourself, hey, life isn't so bad, because you know what? I had that Indian curry. I had a prawn puri, and I splashed out a wee bit, and that prawn puri was lovely. And, in the morning, even though I don't get to see a tenth of the number of people I would like to see, even though I really miss conventions and stuff, the fact that I got to see someone, and the fact that there's people that I get to chat to, and there's people in my life, I'm really thankful for, and that I have a family that loves me, and that we kind of are setting things up for Christmas. So I think it's really important right now in these times to be appreciative. I did not personally get to play any board games yesterday. I was half considering doing a very quick solo thing, but didn't quite manage it. But anyway, just getting my phone onto the second camera so we can get stuck into the reviews. Getting the camera started. This is a thing that I did not sufficiently prepare. I am clicking a link to get my camera started. And this is a song of some sorts. I'm not rhyming very well. But regardless, this is a song that, if you couldn't tell, let me turn that off. Getting the camera started, and now I'm putting it up there, and the camera's floating above me, and now it sees everything on the table. Sorry about that, live kind of getting stuff set up. And hello, Alex. It is lovely to see you. We were just talking about what I am going to be talking about today, and I hope you've had a good day. And now, feel free to comment, ask questions, fun like follow. During a bunch of these things are going to be first impressions. I might get Chris to cut all these things up and put them individually. And so for that reason, whilst I'm reviewing something in particular, then I will ask you to keep the questions a bit more focused. I will answer questions regarding, what I'm talking about, but if you have any off-topic questions, then give me a bit of a moment before I get to them. Yeah, exactly. Some book reviews. But it's kind of first impressions, by which I mean I've read up to here, so I've not quite read the full thing. And this one I've read up to here, but there are reasons why I've not read beyond. So it's kind of more, some of these are first impressions, which is why I have reviewing stuff, current thoughts, and first impressions down at the bottom. And so, yeah, let me get to the main topic. Before I do so, let me remind everyone, BEZ and Friends Game Day will return January the 9th. And if you wish to follow me, then you can do so at any of the links here. Also, yep, I think that's all the, what's the word I'm looking for? Housekeeping that I need to do. And yep, let me get these things set up. So if you have any order that you would like me to review these things in, then let me know. Otherwise, I will do it in a completely arbitrary order, tied to which order they go on the floor to the side of me to make it easier for me to pick up. And so this is going to be the reverse order in which I talk about these things. Oops, I can't put that box in that thing, but I guess I'll talk about Chocolate Factory first. Okay, even though I almost definitely don't think Chris should put this up on Board Game Beat, because I am clearly biased about this game. And so, yeah. Oh, hello, Rob. No, this is just me putting things away in order to review them. So I'm going to be reviewing all the things that I put away. And yep, it's not the end. It's just the start today. Today is like a proper full-length show. Yesterday was my shortest show of the week, and today is going to be my longest show of the week. So I don't want that to be showing my hair. Bez only does 20-minute streams now. Oh, wished you are. Oh, gosh. Yep. This is, anyway, again, Rob, sorry that I had to finish yesterday. Let me type up a wee thing. And I will say that this is What shall we call this? I'll call it thoughts on chocolate factory because that way it's like, yeah, it's my thoughts on it, and it's just what I think of it. And well, I do need to remind me to plug that in after I finish this one. Okay, maybe I will. Can I scoosh this back further? Nope, that doesn't quite work. And maybe I scoosh this a wee bit forwards. There, I think this is a better view. Okay, so Chocolate Factory. It is a game which had the involvement of me. Chocolate Factory. This is a game that I'm going to be talking about. I got this game for free because I say I got it for free, but there was a lot of labor involved. It's for 1 to 4 players. The 1-player mode was done by was done by David. Forgetting their surname. So this game came from Matt and Brett, Matthew Dunstan, Brett Gilbert. Lovely game. It has a lovely idea. I did a bit of work on it. I did a bit of development, and so I am clearly biased, which is why this is not really a fair review. David Digby, that's the one. And Dennis Martinez, that was a lovely person. I did the art direction. Dennis was a lovely person to work with, and yeah, really knocked it out of the park. Graphic designers Seb, Powell and Zach. Yeah, Seb is someone that, and Dennis did a great, like, we had a few concepts for this, and I just think, the logo, I think, was by Zach. The card stuff was by Seb, and oh no, the logo was by Andreas. Damn. At least that's clear. Okay, lead developer, the manual says, is Cesar. Assistant editor is what I'm credited as, which basically means that I did the art direction. I looked through all the cards, and I think I actually tweaked like 2 of the numbers, but really the game was basically there. And proofreaders, Paul Grogan, David Digby, a whole bunch of people. And so yeah, Chocolate Factory. What is Chocolate Factory all about? Let me explain it. This is a board that you get, which is all about keeping track of your scores and stuff. That's not the most exciting part. These are some extra. This is some extra bits. You don't need to worry about that. There's some department store cards of contracts that you need to fulfill. This is the exciting bit here. This is the exciting bit I want to show you. So what happens here is you've got these tiles, and boom, boom, boom. Good box fart. Sounded just like a camel. Does it have a golden ticket for the winner? No, but it should. So these are your player pieces. These are the chocolates. They are really nice looking. I mean, I'm really happy with how these turned out. If it were up to me, I would have made this one a slightly different shape, but you know, price, player discs, red sweets, yellow sweets, and this is the coal. This is the coal as well in smaller units. This is chocolate. This is cocoa beans, which no one wants raw cocoa beans, but you know, you can turn it into chocolate, so that's good stuff. And this is the best chocolate that you can get, which is a box full of chocolate, clearly inspired by some popular UK-based things. Anyway, so the way that things work is you are going to each turn have used these factory parts. You will be putting factory parts on each turn. You'll be adding another factory bit to your whole factory. So just to clarify, you have an upgrade tree. Cocoa goes to chocolate, goes to nice chocolate, goes to nicer chocolate, goes to a big box full of chocolate. And that is the way it is. And then, interestingly, one thing that this game does a wee bit differently is that you get a set amount of energy, which in this game is your coal. You get a set amount every turn. And then this amount is what you're going to use to run your factory parts. So, for example, as you can see, this one would cost you 2 coal to run, and it turns the basic cocoa into 1. It upgrades it twice, which is quite good, or it turns the basic chocolate into double. That is pretty cool. And here, like, if you can get that, that looks like a pretty nice wee combination there. So let's say I had that. I don't know if I could even use it, but let's say on my turn, every turn, I've got a few bits of cocoa, and you will literally be physically sliding these along your conveyor belt, and shoom! I mean, this is such a nice implementation of double layered boards. I am so impressed by Matthew and Brett for coming up with this. Nice work, Matthew and Brett. Like, this is basically the gimmick of the game. This is what kind of makes it work, but it's not just a gimmick. It kind of ties into the whole notion of the game that you need to think about, okay, where do you place these? Where are things going to be upgraded? What's going to happen to them? So I would spend 1 coal to turn this into that, and then, okay, that's the end of my push. Then I get another push, and then, boom, let's actually pretend that I had something better, because let's pretend I'd gone on a couple of turns, because this is really rubbish to have over there. So I could spend now 1 coal to turn the cocoa into another one of these. I could spend 1 coal to upgrade this, but I can only upgrade it 1 step, and I can turn it into one of these, and then I can spend 2 coal to turn it from that into two of these things. And wow, I would have already finished all my coal, because I've just spent 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 previously. So that is all I can spend my coal on. I heard it too. That's all I can spend my coal upon. And then now I would just need to do an ineffectual shift, and I can get these things out, which means that on the first turn, if you eyes yourself up well, then this is where we get into the department store cards, which I'll bring out around this point. So let's say you've got your A's. Again, this is, if you need a rules explanation, go look at someone else, but this is kind of hopefully good. So you've got these department store cards that you've laid out at the start of the game. So in this instance, Palace Boutique wants any number of things as long as they all match. Salter's Emporium, so you could even give them this rubbish chocolate that I said is like the most basic chocolate that people will enjoy. Conversely, Fresh Fancies, they only want the lined chocolate, this stuff. And then Salter's Emporium, who wants the red, okay, well, maybe I'm able to deliver some red to them this turn. But I can't just deliver willy-nilly. No, no, no. That's not how you do it at all. So, where's the other cards? There's lots of cards and bits in this game. Here we go, the employees. Okay, so this is where you get all the employee cards. So at the start of each turn, you would have some number of employees, to one from each of the department stores. And so maybe it allows you to double the number of spaces you move if you fulfill an order there. Or take an additional conveyor tile, and you may run 4 shifts in one day. And that obviously allows you to get more stuff done. But you need to think not just about how good these employee cards are, but also where you want to fulfill. Because at the end of the game, remember, there's only 6 rounds. Every round... Whoa, sorry. Sorry about that, everyone. So there's only 6 rounds: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. People don't work on Sunday because England's like stupid. England following some Sunday trading laws, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, this is you're trying to meet these because for each one, the person who fulfills the most, even if it's just one, gets 16 points. And I should point out that money is not a resource that you can spend, but it's just about accrual of money. That's the one thematic thing that feels a bit weird. I always felt like you should be able to turn money into coal. You should be able to turn money into more upgrades, but you can't. Money is just a one-way victory points thing, which does feel thematically weird. I'm accruing this money and I'm never spending it. What's that all about? But, it was a good game. And so that's why, when someone like Brett and Matthew gives you a really good game, you don't change much. All you do is you basically add on a solo mode done by David Digby. You add on some alternate art things, and you let BEZ change literally 3 of the numbers. I think that is literally all I changed mechanically. And Cesar managed the project, I think, would be more correct. But yeah, what do I think of this game? Hopefully that all makes sense. And I agree with Alex, who says it is lovely tactility. And a quick hello to Sarah. Sorry, I can't say much more, but Alex remembers seeing the first draft of the artwork and it looked quite a bit more serious. What's made Alley Cat Games decide to change the art style? Because it's not just me. I think the point is that, yes, it is a very serious game. This is a very serious, let me change the screen. This is a very serious, almost brain-burning game. Oh my gosh, there's so much to it. Like, every turn, you're going to get more and more little things, and then by the time you've gotten, you will have 6 factory parts by the end, or you might be putting them on top of each other. This is super brain burning. So, like, stereotypically, maybe you'd had the dour-faced person looking grumpy, like, make my chocolate. You gonna make my chocolate, eh? But it's, why should every serious game have like this dour feel? I think that in this day and age where we have things like, let's have a bit more fun adult stuff. Like, you've got adult cartoons, and let's have joyful artwork on thoughtful games. Let's have, I mean, I don't know if there was ever a big conversation about it. I think a lot of it was going through, Cesar's head. But let me look at the employee cards, because this is where most of the artwork comes in. So if you want to see the artwork, most of the artwork is on these factory cards. And I do like the fact that, there are different versions. So like this one, they're packing the containers. And so like the ones where it's related to bars, they're packing up bars. And then that's the factory manager. And if we look at the different characters, let me actually zoom in a wee bit, by which I mean bring the camera downwards. So yeah, I think that we just really enjoyed the way that Denise, it kind of feels like it's giving good representation. We didn't want to have like just a bunch of white dudes, but at the same time, there's a bit of sorts of a 50s vibe to it. It's like, okay, who are all these people? What are they doing? And it feels like there's a wee bit of, I don't know, it's not completely whimsical. It's just a bit joyful, because you're making chocolates, for goodness sake. There should be a bit of joyfulness to it. If you can't be joyful when you're making chocolates, then when can you be? I guess that's maybe a question for board games as well. Whoops. Wow, this is really not 1 point if you tell me what game that just landed upon. So showing like the constant pile of games that's just over there. But yeah, Rob agrees on money, but if it is your victory condition, lots of people get really upset about effectively needing to spend victory points. I disagree with that view, but I might be in the minority. I understand what you're saying, Rob. It does have a massive, there's that, achievements relocked. Like, what's that thing that Jeff Engelstein keeps talking about? The loss aversion? Yeah, loss aversion. And yeah, I just want to say that I kind of feel like, in retrospect, maybe we could have had, like, if it were up to me, we would have had like a few hours of conversation thinking, what else could this be? Could it have been like the value of your shares? Like maybe the value of your share, or like, I don't know, just prestige points or something, because it just feels really weird how the government is giving you these handouts of the coal, and you're just yeah, I understand thematically you're making money. It just I'm not sure if it could have been done better, but I'm not sure if it was sufficiently explored. Alex says that Alex likes it being money. It makes the game feel a bit less abstract. For sure, I'm not saying that it should have been victory points, but having money rather, and that's the thing, like what else can it be? And then you have a bit of a ponder and then you don't have any other ideas. But could we have pulled, people on Big Cup? Could we have, asked people on the Facebook chat, hey, what do you think? What would be a good name for this? And maybe someone would have come up with something. Maybe no one would have come up with something, but it feels like, yeah. Oh, for sure. Like the money to coal thing would have been mechanically problematic. It would have completely changed the game. And the fact that you have this finite supply of coal each turn is what makes the game work well. Let's not get hung up on that one aspect. So, yeah, my point isn't that. I guess my point is just with calling a resource money and then being unable to spend it, it just feels really weird to me. That's all I'm saying. What do I love? I love this kind of resource tree that it goes, okay, you can turn that into either of these. And the fact that it is an engine building game, but your engine building is kind of dictated by this amount of coal actually gives it an interestingly different feel to most engine building games. And it also keeps it quite constrained because it means that there's no runaway leader as such, because even if you get the most brilliant setup of these parts, it's all about, do you have enough coal to run it? And all of these, they sorry, I don't know if you can see that so well over there, but this one charges free coal. Yes, it triples whatever's on it, but also the other really interesting thing about this game, the other really interesting thing is that not all the department stores even want the best things. So like if you go to Palace Boutique and you've only got the most expensive chocolate, they can't even sell it there. So you need a good mix of everything. And so you need to kind of, it's not just about working out a combination of things with your parts, with your factory parts. It's also about working out what you do on any given turn. How do you make sure that over the 6 days you manage to fulfill to all 5 of these at least? And if you do all 5, then you get a bonus 24 money, which is quite a bit. And if I love the area control thing, I think area control system that might have been either, it was definitely after submission, it was either changed by Matt or Cesar, I can't remember, probably Matt, but anyway, in the area majority system, whoever has the most gets 16 points, but then the person in second most gets 8, as long as you have at least half as much as the person in first. So even in a 2-player game, if one person has 1, it's sometimes worth you not just going for 2, but going for 3, because not only will you be getting 16 then, but you'll also be denying them 8, and then you're like, ha ha ha, in your face. And that's what a good game is all about. It's like, so Layla, I've played this twice since publication. I played it a bunch before publication. Layla, I think, has beaten me by about 5 points both times. We're talking points in the 150s approximately. So 5-7 points, it's not a lot. You're doing corner shops. You're thinking, okay, where do I get my points? Do I fulfill these corner shops, which is all about these contracts? Do I fulfill the communal contracts for ownership? And do I try and get the most corner shops? And yeah, there's a lot to this game. And so yeah, I think it's a really good game. Layla says that it's one of those things like Agricola, which some people call Misery Farm, where it's kind of like, hey, you can't do all the things. You've got to decide what you don't want to do. And I think that this captures that a little bit. It's like, you will never be able to run all your engines because there is only so much coal in the world. And I kind of like that because you're getting a finite amount of thing. And in a way, it's quite nice that there's this one finite resource that, hey, this is the one resource that kind of structures everything else, and it gives everything else a bit of, as opposed to a lot of games where a lot of games are just, hey, here's all the things, build up your own engine, you can go crazy with this. This game kind of feels like it's pushing a narrative arc on you, which could be seen as both a good and a bad thing, I suppose. But if we're going to be charitable, then let's say that it ensures that there's this narrative flow. It ensures that you don't get too much out of control. So it both pushes you and it constrains you in equal measure. And that's something that I've personally not seen in other engine building games, where your engine is ultimately constrained by how much you can do each turn. And so, yeah, I think this is a good game. I am happy and proud of the work that I did on it. I think that everyone should be proud, like Cesar and all of the people who are involved in the publication. I think all of these people did a great job, and I am clearly biased, but I am not unhappy with it. That's good enough, I think. It's not perfect, but yeah. And that, just to reaffirm my biases, I did work on it. I was paid money to work on it. I did get my copy for free. Would I buy it? I'm not going to answer that, but I don't know if I would be in the market for this kind of game specifically. I don't know if... But I will say that Layla has... I said to Layla, I would like to play the one-player game at some point. I never actually tried David's solo mode. But yeah, once I play the solo mode, maybe I'll get a bit better and it might not be as fun to compete any longer. And so tell me if you want to play. And Layla was like, yeah, I really enjoy it, actually. It's kind of like that kind of game when you want to be masochistic and miserable. So yeah. That is... Okay. So going back to the comments about this, we had Alex saying it's a bit of cognitive dissonance regarding money. Yep, there needs to be some compromise. Any games, yeah, in any game, there needs to be some abstraction. You need to decide what are you simulating, what are you abstracting away, and money just still feels like the best choice. I don't think, I just in retrospect wish that we had asked, canvass the public on what could be better. And if I were in charge of it, I'd be like, hey, what's the best resource? If you named a resource, then you'll get a free copy of the game, something like that. And yep, it's all about managing the abstraction. And so that is my thoughts on Chocolate Factory. In terms of personal viewpoints, I would give it like a 1 thumbs up. In terms of like feeling that I did a good job, and yeah, I feel good about it. Yeah, within my constrained, remit of what I was doing. So that's Chocolate Factory. Thank you. And that's the end of me talking about Chocolate Factory. So let me change that banner to be coming up, or yeah. So I'm going to be talking about something else in a minute. And it's lovely to have you, Alex, whether you're lurking or whatever. I guess, yep, next one I'm going to be talking about. Oh my gosh, yeah, I don't like, Okay, thoughts on Tapestry's rule sheet. Okay, this is what I'm going to be talking about, and yeah. Let me see how the camera. Let me try and get the camera set up. Maybe I could bring it a wee bit lower, as long as it features one spread. Okay, I think. Wait. Okay, I think that's a good place for. Okay. Now I'm talking about Tapestry. Tapestry, it's a game that was sent to me. I paid shipping, and in return I said I'd review it. And yep, I said I would review it before Christmas, and I haven't played it yet. I set it up one night. I was planning to play the one-player game because, there's a bit going on. I thought, okay, this might be complex. But, Layla will be up for it for sure. And back then I was also thinking that I would see X8 before the end of the year, but that never happened. Anyway, this isn't about my personal life. This is about Tapestry and why I haven't reviewed it yet. Because, if I had managed to play the one-player game, then I would be doing a review of the one-player game. But I haven't. Oh my gosh. So, I think I've said so to frame my biases, again, I put my name on a list. Jamie Stegmaier picked my name from a list and said, hey, here's a whole bunch of people. I'm just sending you this mail out to say there's some copies of these games in Europe. If you want to get any of these games and you will review them, then let me know. And I picked Tapestry and My Little Scythe and played My Little Scythe a few times. And there's some, I'll talk about that separately. There are also a few rulebook issues with that, in my opinion. There's also some rulebook issues with this. Now, where to start? I think fundamentally, I just feel like Jamie Stegmaier, and this is my thoughts, this is my hypothesis, is that Jamie Stegmaier was working really hard to get this game to fit into 4 pages, like basically 1 sheet of paper. And Jamie did a good job given those constraints, but I don't think that this is a good rule sheet. I don't think that those constraints were reasonable. I think that this should have been maybe an 8-page rule book with bigger text, an actual components page. Yeah, a bit more explanation on what you're doing, and yeah, maybe even a reminder on the back. It's really dense, and I am no stranger to this. Look, when I made the L deck, I had the original 5 games, all on 1 card each. And I worked really hard to do that. And then afterwards I realized, hey, wait a minute, this 1 card wasn't quite enough to make it properly easy and understandable and intelligible, because when I say spread these cards across the table, what I really mean is do it in a wanton manner, with things potentially at jaunty angles to each other, just laid on each other, and then having an actual diagram in the rule sheet for Grabble, even though that's such a simple game, does make it better. Now, with a game like this, you need to make so many assumptions, which is kind of annoying. Firstly, okay, this is fine. Design credits, designed by Jamie Stegmaier, art by Andrew Bosley, sculpts by Ron Brown. If I was to be charitable, then I would say, okay, they don't have space to credit anyone else. If I were to be uncharitable, I would say that, come on, either there are other people who deserve to be credited, or you haven't done enough work here. Why was there no rule sheet editor? That kind of suggests to, why was there no proofreader? That suggests to me that Jamie Stegmaier isn't valuing this work, and that's not a good sign, frankly. Yeah. Now, I'm going to address Alex's points in a wee bit, but going through this, actually, I'm going to get distracted. And Alex says, I'm not sure I like the fact you had to pay for shipping. I guess publishers aren't required to provide free copies of games, but it feels like it comes from a point of privilege. There are games, and subsequently the reviews of those games are very popular, but less accessible for smaller, less financially free reviewers. And yeah, when I got this, parts of my thoughts was, okay, I will do the work for it, I'll review it because I've got the channel, and then, you know, it'll be something that I ultimately give to Xate, but don't tell Xate that, because I know that Xate doesn't watch on Sundays. Anyway, but I kind of get it. Yeah, look, let's have this tangent. Let's have, because, okay, I've brought it up. I've brought up the whole thing. I don't think, let me change the screens now. I don't think it is, how can I put this? We had a whole question about reviewers' obligations, and I talked about this for, I want to say, 4 hours approximately with Antoinette, and I think that there's a lot more to uncover, and I'm trying to get more reviewers to come on this show to talk about it, but people are either finding the time difficult or unwilling to come on. Lots of reviewers are from America, let's be honest, and a lot of people maybe don't want, but yeah, there are people, like I know Nick Case makes a point that Nick, during Essen, gave games away for free to like 20 people, and so many people don't do what they say they will do. And I've experienced that myself, and I give away a game of Wibble ++ Deluxe to someone, and I say, please review this, and then I find out that they say, oh yeah, I will review it, or they say, oh, I will at least do, please give it to us today. And we always do a big kind of first impressions and initial thoughts after the first day of Essen, and you'll see it on our channel. And then at the end of the day, like even after Essen, I looked on their channel and there was nothing. And so people do like to get free copies. So I understand from a perspective, you're drawn into these, look, and I'm just going to put up a banner saying tangents, and once I finish this tangent, I'm going to swap my screens. So if you don't want to listen to this tangent and you're not watching live, then swap this, then kind of scroll forwards until the screens are swapped again, and then I'll be talking more about the rules. But yeah, I kind of get it. You want to give your games to smaller channels. You don't just want to give your games to the biggest people out there. Like, I mean, the fact that Jamie sent their game to me, I think has a lot to do with the fact that when Jamie asked for representative content, I linked to a 2-hour review that I did with Alan Paul, because I do get really in-depth. And that's kind of what I do. I blether on. I have tangents like this. But yeah, sure, there might be, okay, I like this reviewer, I like what they're doing, but is this actually going to make financial sense for me to send a game to them? Like, when it's a more expensive game, you've got to be a bit more careful, I guess. When shipping does cost quite a bit, I guess you know, as reviewers, I don't think a reviewer should expect a free copy. I don't think a publisher at the same time should, honestly, like, this feels like a conversation that will merit talking about for many, many more hours. I don't just mean 2 hours. I mean, like, proper, like, every few months. I want to have this conversation because I'm still unpacking my own thoughts, because I'm on both sides of this equation. I'm a publisher, I'm a designer, I'm a, design for other publishers, I'm a reviewer now. And when I go to Thailand, sure, I will probably be happy to accept. Right now, I'm not going to accept review copies, no. Especially not if there's if someone says, hey, I'll send you something, and if you don't manage to tell me what you think, that's also okay. Then sure, I will accept your thing if there's literally no strings attached, which I have done in the past. People have given me free games even before I had, like, years ago. I got a free copy of Follow, which I still haven't played, by the creators of Cube Quest, formerly known as King Brick, because I did a review of it, a written review, and I loved King Brick. But when I looked at, hold on, I'm going to plug stuff in. When I looked at Follow, it wasn't my kind of game. I basically skimmed through the rules and was like, yeah, I am not excited about this. And that's it. But when there's an expectation of something that you've got to do, I mean, that itself can be problematic. And there was, yeah, it's really dark in London, which is why I'm putting an actual lamp on, even though it's 11 a.m. Anyway, so if there's an expectation, if you start saying, okay, it needs to be within this many months, and then you tell someone off publicly, that's problematic. And that's something that happened with Jamie Stegmaier. And then Jamie Stegmaier changed the thing to say, you need to try to do it within this amount of time. And look, sure, and I could get into the other things, which Jamie says that they don't watch any reviews of or any of their things. So if that's true, then Jamie will never be watching this, which is kind of a weird thing. Because personally, if someone reviews something of mine, I want to watch it. I want to see, did they do a good job reviewing it? Did that person do a bad job of reviewing it? And if someone reviews a game of mine and they say, if someone reviews, look, I feel a bit annoyed that someone reviewed this and they reviewed all 5 of the games, but they basically only played 1.5 of them. And they said, oh, I've not played these 3 games, so I'm not going to go any. Anyway, I'm still a bit. And yeah, if that person is watching, yeah, I am kind of a bit annoyed about that. And that's why, frankly, I realized that giving someone a bunch of games in a box is problematic. It's tricky. Like, how do they review that? And then with Tapestry, that's also a thing. Like, how do you review it? Do you have to play every player count? Like, if you're reviewing this, then do you have to play every single game? If I've played a one-player game, can I just give it to one-player review? Because at this point, I've now played My Little Scythe. I played it at 5 players, and for the record, My Little Scythe at 5 players, I think it's a bit slower, it's a bit more political, it's still fun, it's still a kind of knockabout, there's a fair bit of chance to it, although I might just be bitter because Chris keeps beating me. But honestly, like, how many player counts do you have to play? And if I say, okay, I'm playing the one-player game, I shouldn't be then hypothesizing and spending so much of my review just hypothesizing about the game. At least I shouldn't be making it about other similar games, which I'm aware of the hypocrisy here. But yeah, at a certain point, if someone reviews my game, I want to see, hey, how did this fit with them? Did they enjoy it? And did they have fun with it? If they did, if they did a good job of this game, then it's not about the viewership. I want to send them a future game. And that's and I also want to learn more about my game. I want to learn more about how to make my own games better. So not watching reviews, I kind of understand Jamie saying, okay, I don't want to be swayed by your opinion. Anyway, but that is the end of my commentary on the meta principles of my bias and the fact that there was a review copy. Anyway, let's go forward. Let's talk about these credits. So these credits, as I said, I worry that if I'm going to be uncharitable and I'm going to be unkind to Jamie, I would say that it shows that this is what Jamie values. Jamie values themselves designing it, Andrew Bosley doing art, and Ron Brown doing sculpts. These people did a great job. Well done. But was there any developer? Was there any rules editor? I don't know. If Jamie was like, I mean, at this point, it is kind of like a vanity publisher. And sure, Jamie Stegmaier is very successful, and it seems weird to call Jamie Stegmaier Stonemaier Games a vanity publisher, but it kind of is, because when you get a game and you get all these sculpts and it's like, okay, I want to represent my game the way I want it to be represented. That's like saying, I value the public image of my game higher than the ability for people to play this game. Because yes, the buildings are really lovely, but do you need those buildings? Well, Jamie Stegmaier felt like you needed those buildings for, a nice table presence, because Jamie Stegmaier wanted really cool miniatures. But for some people who that might not be as essential, well, they don't have the option of buying a cheaper set. And I kind of wish that we had like a more expensive thing and then a cheaper thing down the line. I understand Stonemaier Games, it says, okay, we are an expensive publisher. If you buy our stuff, you're getting really good components. But it's not very accessible, is it? Anyway, so, and also I kind of worry about how few people are credited here. Okay, this is a great bit of text. Create the civilization with the most storied history, starting at the beginning of humankind and reaching into the future. The paths you choose will vary greatly from real. And then it's got, your civilization is unique. And then it's going into a bit more, of the flavor here, a bit more of the mechanics here. And now I get to my first issue. My first issue is that there is no components page. This components page is it's kind of trying to be both a components page and a setup at the same time. But there is so much stuff that I was genuinely confused by. Okay, place the boards down, clear. Tech cards, shuffle them. Okay, which one is the tech card? And then I had to look through the cards and I had to say, okay, are these the tech cards? No. Are these the tech cards? No. Because there's not just these two decks. There's also an Optima card, which is not even mentioned here. There's also like other stuff for the solo game. And so then it was like, okay, I wrote a little bit to remind myself, yes, it is the one that's in the yellow deck. And you could argue, okay, Bez, you should have known because it shows yellow. But if you look at the yellow, hold on, let me swap the camera so it's slightly easier. It's kind of low resolution when you look at, you can't, maybe it's not the best camera, but it's, it doesn't have any of the real features that you see. It's because, okay, let me also talk about the fact that this is linen finish. Linen finish, it feels gorgeous. This is the nicest feeling rule sheet I have ever felt. True story. But at what cost? And the linen finish, when I look closely at it, and I'm trying to discern the detail of these things, it says all kinds of bumpy, and yeah, I'm sure it's a nice thing, but I just feel like the fact that they've blurred this out, okay, it's meant to be a stylistic choice, putting things into lower detail because they don't want you to be too distracted, but it's made me struggle. That's all I'm saying. It made me struggle. Okay, then the tapestry cards, that's fine. Then this is where I really struggled. Place the landmark miniatures on top of the matching slots on the landmark board. This was my least favorite part of the game because there is a good chunk of miniatures. There's so many. And where they even go on the board does not matter. It's completely irrelevant to the game. The only thing that matters to the game is that they match the number of squares. So if it's a 1 square space, you need to put in a 1 square building. If it's a 2 square or a 3, you need to put on something that fills that number of squares. But the actual building. So I was playing this late at night and I was struggling to match up the picture because there are little pictures with the little miniatures. And so that really frustrated me. And that took me half an hour to spend. And basically, that is the worst thing that I found about this thing. I wish it had said, reminder, the exact landmarks doesn't matter if you're struggling to put them together. The only thing that really matters is landmarks. And then I would have spent maybe 1 minute doing it rather than half an hour. And then I went through the setup and then I did everything else. And also, this is curved. This does not represent the way that things look. This is curved. What's all that about? And then here, okay, you read through all this gameplay and it's okay. I read through it. I played a couple of turns. So I played a kind of simulate rather than playing a actual one-player game. And again, this is not the rules for the one player game really, because for the one player game you need to check out another thing. So it would be nice if the one player game, it had its own set rules, but it's one of those games which assumes that you must play a 2-player game before you play a 1-player and so forth. And then he gets into this, and here it has almost like do this, do this, do this, do this. But then it goes from instructions to examples, and these examples are, okay, eventually you understand, okay, things in italics are just examples, they're not rules. But if it said, e.g., upgrade the Zeppelin's tech cards to gain the benefits, but it's kind of confusing. Okay, is it something specifically about the Zeppelin's tech card? No, it's not. It's nothing about the Zeppelin's tech card. This is just an example, and it doesn't clearly state that it's an example, and that's infuriated me so much. Sorry, I'm really, I'm sure it might be a great game. I've not played it, so I'm not going to comment on it, but just this lack of example, the fact that it didn't say the miniatures don't match, and the fact that there's no components, it made me really aggravated, and I spent like a good hour and a half, and I basically got to the second turn and was like, okay, I'll do it one other night because yeah. And I like the fact that it says a great final score is 300 victory points, because that way you can sort of, play a two-handed game rather than a solo game with the bot. Then you can do that. And I like the fact that they say this. I like these little bits. I like, the rule sheet. It's graphically, it's nice. It's nicely laid out. But if you have an example, clearly mark it as a baconing example, as a blooming example, as a bleeping example. Please, if you know what I mean. And please, 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 if you have as many components as Tapestry does, please, for goodness sake, for the sake of my sanity, for the sake of me even being able to play your game, please, because I should not have to, I know, okay, there's instructions, there's videos online. I should not have to look up videos online. I should be able to read it from the instructions. I deliberately, if I am going to review a game, at any points, if you send me a game, I'm going to look at it from the... Anyway, so that's my review. That's my thoughts on Tapestry's rule sheet. If you've got any questions regarding Tapestry's rule sheet and you're watching live, then please ask me now. I found it infuriating, but I see that, I'm not going to comment on the game. If I had bought this game, I would... I have paid some money for it regardless, but I am motivated to kind of try it again, to try it and to play it solo if I can. But that is my thoughts right now on the rule sheet. I'm not even going to talk about the game. Okay, it seems like no one has any comments. So I guess that is the end of the me talking about that. Oh, people have gone. But yeah, so that is the end of my thoughts on Tapestry. And I have no... Actually, that's the end of my thoughts on the Tapestry's rule sheet. So Tapestry, I give no opinion on the game. No opinion on the game. Regarding the rule sheet, I give 1 thumb down. It's not terrible, it's just 1 thumb down. And so, yep, that is my thoughts. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching, and that's the end of my thoughts on Tapestry. Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Just for one section, just for my thoughts on this bit. Okay, where's my... Okay, so under banner. Thank you for watching very much, Alex. It was lovely to have you. And yep, I will now be going through these. I might do these a wee bit faster. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions about any of the other things I mentioned. Let me do first impressions on Jixia Academy. Okay. Hey, Rob's still here. Lovely. I didn't think you were. I looked in Twitch like a minute ago, and then I refreshed and I couldn't see your names. So I thought you were both gone. That's really weird. Oh, there's Rob. Hey, thank you for watching, Rob. It's lovely to have you. Anyway, so I'm going to review these 2 games. I should kind of have a bye-bye song just for the section, so it's clear to people watching that I'm not actually saying bye-bye. But for now, that's the end of my views. That's my end of the views for this. That's the end of my views for this thing. That's the end of my views. And so I sing Bye, 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 bye. Just for this section. Bye, 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 bye. Section. Mention. Bye, 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 bye. And now I will mention. Bye, 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 bye. That's the end of this section. Yeah, that could work. Yeah, that could work. What do you think? Does that work as a song? That's totally fair. I really appreciate you listening. Anyway, honestly, the visuals aren't too exciting on most of these things. It's just me flicking through stuff. Anyway, so yeah, let me actually write that down somewhere, because otherwise I feel like I will forget. But bye, 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 bye. That's the end of. And now I'm going to mention. Bye, 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 bye. Now I'm going to sing. Bye, 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 bye. It's the end of my views on this thing. Bye, 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 bye. It's the end of this section. Bye, 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 bye. And now I will mention. Now I will mention it's the end of this section. Okay. Anyway, so I'll make it up as we go along. So let me go to first impressions on Jixia Academy. So Jixia Academy, Jix, Hanama, Koji are the same games to me. They are the same mechanically. All that's differentiating these is that one is boys and one is girls. There we go. That's the review. So they are basically exactly the same game. I wouldn't. So yeah, I am going to first express my biases about these games. So I got these games thinking that I was getting them for a really good price. I paid like something like I think it was like $25 for 5 games, but it was also $25 shipping. But then FedEx, added on VAT, and then FedEx sent that to a debt collection agency because I missed the thing. And then the debt collection agency added on 40 quid. So apparently now I owe another 65 quid for something that I thought I was only paying 50 quid for, which, to me, no, I'm kind of at this point thinking, you know what? No, I didn't know that I was going to have to pay VAT. I'm honestly just going to refuse to pay this. And if it means that FedEx, I never get a shipment from FedEx ever again, I don't really care at this point. It's just on principle, I'm not going to pay 65 quid for receiving this package. No. Anyway, that is the end of my biases. I got it cheap and I had a bit of VAT trouble. I do like, I've reviewed, I am friends with Eric Slauson. I would say that we are kind of friends, who has Monstrosity coming out from the same company. So from Deep Water Games, I will say that. That's a bias. I'm biased insofar as, yeah, they seem like a good company, and kind of like, all the other biases are just to do with biases or preferences. Now, these two games are basically identical. If I actually looked through line by line, text by text, obviously the setting is completely different. This one, apparently it's all based on boys who are supposedly philosophers, although they look very young to be philosophers. This one's, it's all about geisha, and then they are also quite young. And it's like, yeah, geisha, I understand that there might have been some older geisha, but it feels a little bit more understandable. Okay, these are geisha, but really philosophers, when they look like they're in their 20s, that's a bit harder for me to believe. Anyway, so it's got exactly the same stuff. In this game, you've got alternate arts. In this game, you've got fancier tokens. Details, exactly the same setup, exactly the same sequence of play, exactly the same text on this side, exactly the same text, except for some reason they had fancier. Maybe they got better. I think it has slightly nicer arrows on this one, but I don't think that really matters for anyone. And the text is really, really identical. optional rules, end of the game, obviously charm points versus reputation points, and slightly different layouts. But just like this one moved stuff so that it could have a QR code so that you can learn more about the game. But literally, there is no point in having both of these games. And that's another kind of wee bits of contention that, yeah, why was it a pack to buy these two games together? It feels kind of weird. And like I got these two games and 3 others for a cheap price. I didn't do much research, but yeah, there is no point in having all these games. Anyway, let me set up with Jixi Academy. So this is kind of like an area control game, you could argue, in that you're trying to get ownership of these different people. So should I zoom out a little bit more? Zooming out, zooming out. This is my camera zooming out, and still I'm not going to shout. Okay, so there we go. So these are the people that you're fighting for some sorts of... Oh yeah, Jixi Academy, it totally doesn't mention it in the rules or anything, but it's got this completely superfluous little standee. I don't know what sort of purpose it serves, but you can put it together and hold on, let me try and... There we go. And then it's like, hey, can you... Hold on, let me try and... There we go. So it's like a completely superfluous thing. This is not meant to be the start player marker, I don't think. It's not a good thing to move around. It feels like, hey, we had some extra space on the punch board. Let's put something on. I kind of feel like when you have superfluous things, you should actually call them out, and it's actually even charming. Like, look, for Kitty Cataclysm, I said, oh, there's a superfluous sheet of paper, and it's okay, so this sheet of paper with the colouring bits, and it's completely superfluous. And yes, it is completely superfluous. But yeah. Anyway, I would like it if they mentioned these, just to kind of let us know what this is even about. In this game, this is just going to be my first impressions. You each have 4 actions that you're going to do. You can either be the fiery red or the tranquil purple, and you're trying to gain these things and pull them to your side. So you're trying to pull not the people, you're not trying to pull the people, you're trying to pull their, what's it called? Reputation. Sorry, gain the favor of the scholars. So you can see, like, these are really sexy looking scholars. I mean, come on, have you ever seen such... basically, this game is if you want to see cute boys, but mechanically, if you want to have a bit of fun divvying up cards. And you've got a bunch of cards. So you've got 5 green 5s. You've got 4 purple 4s, 3 yellow 3s, 3 blue 3s, 2 red 2s. The numbers tell you how many cards in the deck represent the favor of that particular scholar. You're going to divvy up the deck. You're going to have a bunch of cards in your hands. Each player will have some cards, and on your turn you will draw a card, which I could say that I dislike. I personally prefer it when I'm drawing cards at the end of my turn, so I get a bit more thoughts about it, but let's not worry about that too much. This is just meant to be a quick overview. So straight away I'm thinking, okay, I have full control over this, or full power over what happens to this person. And I have a lot of information about here. I've half the information here, and I've got little bits of information here. This is a game about information, about card counting, about divvying up cards. You've got 4 actions, which are numbered 1 to 4, for no reason. I would argue that these should not be numbered, because numbering them just adds confusion. Why are they numbered? There is no sequential order to them. You do not have to do them in these orders. It just feels like, okay, on the other side, they are able to say, number 1, secret. And so it kind of, but come on, the icons are good enough. They should have just... So one action that you do as part of your 4 turns is to say, okay, I'm going to have this. So this is my secret currying favor with these lovely, cute boys. And then a second action that I could do is to get 2 cards out of the game. So if, for example, later on, I'm going to draw more cards each time. If I say, okay, you know what? I'm going to get rid of this red 2 and also this pink 2, then I know that I've definitely won this one. So I'm happy with that. And the third action that you can do is to pick 3 cards, and your opponent gets 1 and you get 2. So in this situation, I might say, okay, well, these 3 cards are all the same, so you are definitely getting the one of those 2, and I'm getting 2 of these 2. So hopefully I'm able to get control here. So that would be this one done. And finally is the divvy up 4, where for the divvy up 4, which is called competition, I need to put these in some sort of order. So maybe I think, okay, this one actually gives a lot of power to the other person. So they say, okay, do I want the blue 4 and the blue 3, purple 4, or blue 3, yellow 3? And either way, they are going to have some cards that go along that side. And at the end of the round, there will be some cards on that side. And let's say that was like this. This might not even be the correct numbering, but let's say, and then we reveal our secret things. And so in this example, pink, I've got more, so it goes to my side. Red goes to that side. Blue 3 stays in the middle. Yellow, boom, goes to my side. Oh man, I think my opponent has already won. And so in this situation, 5 plus 4 plus 2 is 11. And 11 means that, yep, 11 reputation points, because this is not only how many cards there are of that person, but also how many points they are worth. So 9, 11, so my opponent has already won, whereas I only had 5, which is a bit rubbish. So battling over the 5 is so important. The other thing to remember is that if you manage to get 4 out of the 3, if you manage to win the favor of 4 scholars, then that is also an end of the game. In theory, like, you might have just constantly ties, and it might be going back and forth. I've not seen that happen. It's one of those things that might mathematically happen, but it just feels unlikely given, rational human play. What did I think of it? This is just my first impressions. I've played this game 2 or 3 times in one sitting. It's quick enough that you can play multiple times. It might literally just take a round. It might keep going on for a while. I'm not a fan of variable length games. That's something that I'm not a fan of. I am a fan of kind of card counting with a simple deck of cards that's only 21, 6, 12, 21 cards. And so there's always one card that's out. You're kind of trying to guess, okay, what's my opponent secreted away? What do I want? What's worth me trying to get? And I probably don't even need that big baggie. But yeah, it's a nice game. It's a pleasant game. There's definitely something interesting here. And I feel like I would want to have this game. Would I want to have Jixia Academy or Hanamakoji? I guess that depends entirely on whether you like pretty boys or pretty girls. So that is my first thoughts on Jixia Academy. And I will do a quick comparison with the other one, because why not? It might just be a case of which one is more easily available to you. If you like the notion of card counting, and it reminds me very much of those Magic the Gathering cards, fact or fiction, as well as gifts ungiven. So yeah, and here you've got alternate art. I will say actually that from a color blindness perspective, neither of these games are particularly good, because the only way to match so let's look at this purple 2. How can we match it? It does have the same Japanese script down the side, so that does help. And for sure, there's a flute here, there's a flute there, and okay, there's the fan here. But if you are struggling to tell the difference between yellow and orange, this is not a game for you. If you're struggling to tell the difference between this color and this color, you cannot play this. I'm just going to give a warning. And that is not great. I understand that, for people who can read kanji and are able to look at kanji and compare it, I think that, it's fine. It's not, it's not inaccessible. It's not inaccessible, but I just want to flag that up. So that is basically my thoughts on Hanamakoji, which I've never technically played, but by playing Jixi Academy, I have essentially played it, except that I didn't have pretty girls in front of me. Instead, we had pretty little boys, which I do want to mention that Jixi Academy is worse for color blindness. So Hanamakoji, you saw there that both sides of the card have the same Japanese kanji, but here, let's look at this one. Okay, so there, okay, it matches. There, it doesn't match, because one side is, I believe, Japanese script, one side is the Chinese script. I'm not 100% sure what's going on, but basically the card only matches one side of the card. So, and when there's 2 characters on each side, you don't know which side you're looking for. And so when you're trying to compare, okay, which of these 2s, let's pretend that you were unable to tell the colors apart. It's like, okay, which of these 3 cards is this one? Okay, let's zoom in and get really into it. Okay, which one is this? Okay, nope, it's not that. Okay, it's not that. Okay, it's not that. Okay, is it that? No, it's not, because there's a little. Okay, it says that. I mean, look, if you're using text as symbols, then why having different text based on the orientation is just such a weird thing. And that is my only complaint. That is literally, given how little I've played the game so far, that is my only complaint so far of Jixi Academy. And yep. So bye. Well, now this is the end of this section, and now I think that I'm going to mention this is the end of my thoughts on this thing. And now I'm going to finish off by singing. So far, my opinion is 1 thumbs up. Fishmoo, how do I pronounce her name? I only have Hanamakoji, and we've never bothered checking the colors or the text to match cards to characters. We go with the item on the art. That makes perfect sense. All I'm saying is that Jixi Academy is worse. Because Hanamakoji, fine. Again, look, I guess this wasn't the end of my thoughts on this thing. This wasn't the end of my thoughts on this thing at all. So, yeah, let me tell you more about my thoughts, particularly on the art. And I'm actually almost annoyed by this. Because they had such a nice thing going on with Hanamakoji with at least those items, and that was okay. But look, is there anything to relate this bit of paper to that person? Is there anything to relate this wagon item to that person? Is there anything to relate to an eagle? No, there's nothing to relate them at all. There's nothing. What's this person got to do with, like, horses? Yeah, like, what's this person got to do with clothes? I don't know what this is all about. I don't know what these philosophies are meant to be. They're meant to, in theory, be different philosophies. Okay, I guess that's like a tree and there's some tree-style things in the background. But, like, this is really problematic, and Hanamakoji is better. And so, yeah, I guess what I'm saying is that if you don't know which one you like, then Jixie Academy. If you like pretty boys, then go with Jixie Academy, but be aware that it's more problematic from a colorblind perspective. And that is, think about these things. Come on, publishers. And I am also going to say that the box is a bit too big. I mean, really, the box only needed to be this big, about half as big as it is. I mean, there's literally nothing in this part of the box. I've put literally everything in there. I mean, sure, the rules are a little bit too big, but that's because the rules were built for that particular size. And I am going to keep on talking about box sizes with every game until publishers sort out their act and make better box sizes, because it's bad for the environment, it's bad for consumers, and it's self-propagating. Anyway, now that's really the end of my thoughts on this thing, and now I will finish by doing this little bit of singing. That's the end of my thoughts on Jixia Academy. And yep, while I'm kind of talking about any given game today, because I'm going to get Chris to chop these up, and this is what I'm going to be talking about next. So as you're a first-time watcher, I will let you decide if you would like to pick something for me to talk about next. I am probably going to give this away. It's not for me. I'm probably going to play this a bit more with Layla and then give it away. I'm going to keep these. This one I'm annoyed about for some reasons, but it is a good book. This one is just a really good book and no complaints. But do you have any thoughts? How are you doing? I hope that you are well, Fishmoo. And yeah, let me know if you have a preference on what I talk about next. The other things that I was going to talk about today are movable type, which I did get for free because I'm friends with Rob and David, and this thing that I backed. So if you're undecided, I am going to put them off to the side. And I will go with a book. You said this will be fun. Let me talk about what I think about this game design book. First impressions. Okay. Oh wait, you've not heard of Rock's or Jeff's books. You are interested in those two. Okay, I'll do Jeff's book. And I mean, Jeffrey Engelstein's book is really where it's at, but Jeff Warrender, decent person. Okay. Interesting. Are you a robot? GFH. Huh. Anyway, so let me go on. So You said this would be fun is the name of a book. You said this would be fun is a game. I've had a look. I've only got so far. I've not read it all. But still, I'm going to give my first impressions. And I'll tell you all. Okay, So you said this would be fun. It is. There's a lot of truth in this. This is done by Jeff Warrender. Not made anything super notable, but done a bit of game design, got some published games. There is. We talk about what is a game, why design one, and Jeff talks about how they're basically talking about Euro games. This is very much centered about Euro games. This is not about party games. It's not about war games. And then Jeff talks about engagement, motivation, challenge, and playtesting. This is the. You can also see a wee bit of the contents online for free, but I think that yeah, I'm showing it to you for the sake of review, and I'm going to say that these are really good things to ponder, and Jeff has done a lot of pondering, and I love this foreword written by Ben Maddox, who is from 5 Games for Doomsday. Ben Maddox, lovely person. Okay, shoot, I should have started off talking about my biases. So I am biased about this because I entered a raffle to try and win a free copy, and then Jeff Warrender said, you know what, if you would let me know what you think, then I will give you a free copy. And so I accepted, and I said, you know, I'll let you know what I think at some point in the future. And I love this, that, okay, we're trying to talk about game design. This is what we're really talking about. There's a lot of thanks to people. I really appreciate this. Really, all of this from here to here is kind of saying, hey, these are some amazing people that I've been getting to know. And it's like, oh, cool. David Brain, who, and these are the sorts of people that maybe along the way, Jeff has learned a lot from. Jeff talks about what is a game and why design one. Now, these are really good things, because why are games valuable? And this, I agree with this to some degree. Like, Jeff is proposing that they allow us to share things. I mean, the headers are games tell stories. Yes, sure, I agree with that. Games permit structured social interaction. Yes, absolutely, 100% are great for bringing people together and promoting critical thinking. Yes, games are good at making people think strategically. But then also there are games promote critical thinking. I would say this is very much about strategic games that are about numeracy. This is not about games that might be such things as Yogi, for example. This does not apply to a party game. This does not apply so much to a story game or an experiential game, because there are other reasons to play games. And I think that it is a bit almost overly constrained. And yes, there are times when Jeff talks about the limitations of this book. Jeff has talked about, okay, this is specifically what I'm talking about. But then, but it's here that we state that we're kind of talking about German board game design. And I guess ultimately, I just feel like my only issue with this book, and I'm going to state it up front, is that there's points where I feel like Jeff is bringing up examples that are perfectly good games, but Jeff Warrender says this is not a good game as seen through the lens of a Euro game. Again, this is a first impression. I am this far through it. Now, the reason that I'm not really loving it is because of that, because of the constraint. And if you are coming to it from a constraint of, hey, this is someone who's talking purely about Euro board games, and you need to take some of their examples with a pinch of salt, then great. You can do it, but there are times when I wish I'd actually kept little things where Jeff talks about a war game saying this is a bad Euro game. And of course it's a bad Euro game, of course, because it had different aspirations, because right at the start, and I think this is true. Look, if you don't agree with these three principles, then you will disagree with the entire book. So you have to agree with the games tell stories, games permit structured social interaction, and games promotes critical thinking. Do you think that the mind is about critical thinking? Well, you could kind of work out a creative way to consider that how long am I waiting to be all about critical thinking, but that's really, and I guess this is both to the benefit and to the folly of this book. I think this is a good book in that so far I don't feel like I've learned anything out of the first 84 pages of 250 262. I think that there's points where it's like, yeah, actually I agree, and it's not quite nice having that, having that restated and giving myself something to ponder. If you're going to, I feel like this would be a good book to use in a book club. I would be happy to kind of, maybe not as a busy breakfast board game bladder, but getting through it and being like, okay, why do we agree with this? Why do we not agree with this? Having something where I feel like, okay, these are things that we can sort of examine. And this, given the dearth of information, I would say that this is way better a book than this is definitely in the top 10 of board game design books. I mean, look, I have read a book by Rainer Knizia about dice games, and while it's really interesting, it's not a great book for, if you want to learn how to make dice games. And that seems like a really weird thing to say, that Jeff Warrender, yes, made a better book for learning about game design. And what I'm basically saying is that there is almost no good books about game design. And so given the absence of good game books, if this were me like 10 years ago, let's say that I was talking to myself 10 years ago and I was like, should you read this? I'd be like, yes, read it, but, and this is a big but, remember the narrow focus of this book. Remember that this comes from one single perspective. Remember that Jeff is basically saying that this particular type of game is good and others are bad. And I kind of find that opinion at sometimes aggravating and difficult to read. That is my, I mean, when we look at things, player decisions should matter. Designs with incentives, not restrictions. Your scoring design is your game design. I mean, even with a party game, even with a story game, I kind of agree with this. But then it goes into, okay, it should be easy to see what I'm deciding between, but difficult to forecast perfectly what the long-range consequences will be. I mean, kind of. The game should funnel inexorably towards an exciting conclusion. Okay, yeah, we're going to... And these are things that Jeff claims that it's not like you don't have one of these things, you have a bad game, but it's kind of saying that all of these things are going to be, every game is going to be better if it lets the players do the fun thing. And I would agree, but there is a... Yep, and this is it. It's like, this is all about strategic games in which it's all about ortho games. And I guess I would have liked more of a I mean, Jeff Warrender did kind of do it. It did kind of say, this is what the book is not. It's not a manual. It's not about this kind of game. Like it says, it's primarily applicable to competitive tabletop board, card, and dice games. Designers of video games or role-playing games may find useful lessons in this book, but those aren't the book's focus. Moreover, within the subsets of tabletop games, I won't have much to say about war games, party games, abstract games, solo games, or cooperative games. I expect there will be overlap between some of the ideas in this book and the concerns of those types of games, but again, those aren't my main focus. But what I was aggravated about was that not only were those things not the main focus, but Jeff was using a war game as an actual example of something that is wrong with games, purely because that game had different... and I guess that was my main beef with the book. That is the main thing that slowed down my reading. This kind of, hey, let's look at another type of game that's not even trying to do what I'm setting out to do. Because that's not interesting. Saying, hey, I could talk about why left, center, right is a terrible game from the point of view of making interesting decisions, and it is. But left, center, right is a good game for the people who play it and enjoy it. And I mean, I guess I'm just, I would like more people to acknowledge the beauty of more types of games. And look, what I'm just kind of a bit... I mean, I know this is all tone policing, but I just kind of... Rob says, I think Rob might be saying the opposite. Rob says that I would, in general, rather read a game design book that is coming from a particular direction, even if I disagree with parts, than something that tries to impartially describe everything. I'm not suggesting that Jeff Warrender should have been impartial. I'm suggesting that Jeff Warrender, in my opinion, again, everything I say on Sunday is everything I say ever. It's just my opinion, and you can completely disregard it. But I'm aggravated by Jeff Warrender using a war game as an example of a bad Euro game. And Rob Harper suggests the well-played game as a good counterpoint to this one, which I like this book. I think that there is a lot to learn in this book. I think that if you read through it, you will probably learn things, and I am planning to finish reading through it. I'm not just planning to finish reading through it from the sake of compulsion. I'm planning to read through it because, yeah, I believe that there are a lot of good points made. And Rob Harper agrees with the points about the war game. And if I wanted to do... I think that this is... Jesse Schell's book, for me, is the number one book about board game design. The Book of Lenses. I have still not played the well-played game. I've got... just looking at my... Oh, Game Tech. That's a really good book. That's... If you've not listened to the Game Tech sections, that's really good. And the Kobold Book of Board Game Design... like, this book might even be in my top 5, but for me that says more about the lack of information about board game stuff. I would say that if there were more games, this might be like in my top 20. I would say that this is always a book that, so far, based on my initial readings, it seems good. I'm planning to finish reading it, and so far I would give a cautious recommendation with caveats. And that is the end of my views. I hope that has been of some use. Oh, that's almost rhymes. That is maybe the end of my views. I hope that this has been of some use. I hope maybe I've even entertained. And as I've gone through and I have explained my views upon this one thing. And now to finish, I am going to sing. Fishmoo says, a great feature of game design being so diverse is a game that isn't good can still be good. Yeah. Yeah, we have so many views on everything. And honestly, I do think that it's a useful tool as a designer to look at games you hate. Look at, I'm just going to say, I hate Cards Against Humanity. It's nothing to do with it being hip or being popular. I have a lot of love for Wingspan. I mean, I don't think Wingspan is setting the world on fire mechanically, but it is innovative. But like, look at something that you dislike and why is it enjoyed? Why are people enjoying it when, the lack of agency might actually be a feature rather than a bug? Learning about other people, learning about, and yeah, I love that short essays, and Jeff Warrender does a little bit of that. I must also say that, oh yeah, I did actually have some, issues with some of these this bits about what mechanical foundations, what kinds of games these are. I made some notes to Jeff where I said, this is just angering me so much and I need to get it out to you. But yeah, Jeff said something like, oh yeah, that was fair. Thank you for mentioning it. Look, I don't know if this kind of felt like it was taking a step back. Like, why are you telling me about this stuff that it feels more like one person pushing forwards their own, this is how I see it, and this is a constrained thing, and not enough. I'm not saying people have to play devil's advocate about themselves, but it feels like, I don't know. I agree with most of the information, even though I might disagree with the things. But again, for now, that's the end of my views on this thing, and I am finishing this by singing, and that's, for now, the end of this section. And today, or on another day, there'll be other things I mention. Okay. And that's the end of that section. So I hope that's been of some use, yeah. Now, let me talk about the other book, which current thoughts, because I've got some this far. Let me actually just current thoughts. Okay. And I'm going to, okay, so if anyone has anything. So I'll be taught boards. Board games. This is a book that says a lot of things that board games might possess. It's all about the mechanics, as you can see, with some omitted, unfortunately. It mainly talks about Eurogames again, but there's still a bit of explanation. I'm sorry about all the terrible rhymes in this. Anyway, Building Blocks of Tabletop Game Design by Jeffrey Engelstein and Isaac Shalev, published by CRC Press. This, again, is my current thoughts. Just to explain, I have gone this far actually reading and looking up every single, for the first few sections, I was looking up all the examples and making sure that I knew all the examples, and if I hadn't already played it, then I would listen to some reviews. And then I found that I wasn't enjoying this style of reading, and then I went a bit forwards, and then now I'm just reading the text. And even if I don't actually know the game Dream Factory by Knizia, I mean, no thanks, Ra, and Modern Arts, great games, especially no thanks. But I still understand the point that they're making, and I'll come back to it later on, and then check out all the examples later. This book is intended as a reference book. It's not intended to be read from front to back, but I am finding it immensely useful. I am honestly thinking that this might be the best book. Whoa, am I really saying this? Yeah, I think this is the best book about board game design ever so far. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that is my opinion. So, wow. Look, for me at least, and is there any moderator? Let me ban. There we go. So let me give an overview. Let me talk about my biases first of all. Isaac Shalev is a person that I like, and we are in theory co-designing a game, although neither of us has done much work on it for the past 2 months. Isaac Shalev was part of the BEZ and Friends game day on August, September, October. Anyway, it was like after BEZ days, but the BEZ and Friends game day was completely separate, where I was getting people to play games. And Isaac Shalev made a word game, which I quite enjoyed. We worked together. Jeffrey Engelstein, I have a lot of appreciation for it. Jeffrey Engelstein. Jeffrey Engelstein did Ludology, did Game Tech, and I also am Facebook friends with both of these people, and I have so much admiration for both of them, especially, sorry, Isaac Shalev, but Jeffrey Engelstein, if I had to, say who I admire more. But yeah, this is a book by these two people, and this is basically a catalogue of all the possible elements of games. This is like what is all about a game. And so yeah, there's a nice bunch of thank yous and all these contents. It's like, yeah, these are all we're going to go through. And so it's like, hey, if you want to look about game structure, competitive games, cooperative, team-based, solo, semi-cooperative, single loser, traitor, scenario mission, campaign games, score and reset, legacy games, fixed turn orders, stat turn order, bid turn order, progressive turn order, all sorts of turn orders, ways to do turn order, all sorts of actions, action points, action drafting, order counters, rondelles, all these methods of resolving things, high numbers, stat checks, critical hits, dice icons, all that, all sorts of ways of ending a game. Game end and victory, which is victory points from game state, from player actions, targets, finale, king of the hill, and all sorts of ways of recruiting uncertainty. I'm not going to just read all of these, but this is a really nice, not quite exhaustive, but a really nice starting point. Economics, like how you can exchange things, ownership, contracts, and then I'm currently in the auctions section of the book, which is all about open auctions, English auctions, all these types of auctions, seal bids auctions, turn order until pass, and then some auction modifiers, like maybe you've got constrained building, which is like once round auctions, Dutch auction, second big auction, which is again another multiplier, and then you've got modifier. And some of these things are like a primary mechanisms for getting that auction to work. Some of them are a secondary mechanism. And it's almost like you could just pick 3 of these, like to flick to random pages and pick those as your starting things for working out what to make. And then I've not read this bit yet. This is my current thoughts about worker placements, about movements, so about moving things on the board, about area control, about set collection, about card mechanisms. Now, you've seen a lot of, there's no real, all the dexterity stuff is, I think, segregated to like 2 pages somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but let me. Oh, Like, this game is again focused on Euro games, and if you want to learn about party games, then you would have to invent your own stuff. I think that lumping Dixit and Good Question together as the same mechanism of you want to get some people to answer but not everyone, targeted clues, I think that that is an over simplification, especially considering the detail that this book goes into with the auctions, which I really appreciate, because yes, auctions do deserve 44 pages. Yep, auctions, 44 pages, absolutely. 16 types of sections within the auction section. Yep, auctions are amazing, and there's so much going on in there. But there's also stuff going on in party games, and it feels like, for me, party games are kind of more unexplored territory. I would have liked to see, okay, big body dexterity, flicking, placing things on top of each other, dropping things, all separated and really pondered. But this is not what the game is. This is a game about oh, hello Miles, and thank you for following. Oh, yay, my stream elements works. So it's really good book, and there's an introduction. It will explain the focus, and it starts off just talking about these are the kinds of games that we're talking about. There are competitive games, there are cooperative games, and then if you want to learn, like, let's look at the auction section. What kind of auctions do you want? Well, let's read about them and learn about them, and then look at the games and ponder them and look at the reviews, because these are the sample games where they almost epitomize. And things like saying, okay, do you only genuinely, there's actually one section with only one sample game, which is Monopoly, which is a true open auction, which is really interesting, because Monopoly, let's be honest, there are some problems with the rules, and we might go, if I were to be unkind, I would say that the fact that Monopoly is the only game with a true open auction shows what a terrible situation it is, because, yeah, you kind of need to then add some house rules to how do you auction it. It doesn't even tell you in the rules. But this is a brilliant game. I mean, brilliant book. If you are interested in making games, this is a book that I would say, yes, it is expensive. It is an academic book, but this is so bloomin' brilliant. I think that this is, I'm just going to say it, I still stand by my words. I've not even read all of it. I've read this much of it. But out of everything that I've read so far, this is, if you only read one book, between this and, between this and Art of Lenses, it's a really tough one. I would say that Art of Lenses is better in terms of more philosophy and more, okay, this is how you make things. If you are already starting to make things, and if you are at the point where you're wanting to learn more about what games are, I mean, for where I am right now, this is the best. This is probably going to be the thing that most improves my game design skills in 2020. True story. And so, yep, unless anyone has any more questions, then that's the end of everything I have to mention. And so for now, that's the end of this bit. I can say that this book was quite a hit. I'm looking forward to finishing it. And yes, there will be new editions. They've said that's absolutely true that Jeff Engelstein and Isaac Shalev did say that they wanted to have this as a starting point, not as a finale. And so potentially maybe someone else, if someone else wants to ponder party games with me, and then we can maybe, get involved in doing something for party games. But this is also what Scott Alden, I want to say, person who made Board Game Geek, was that Scott? Anyway, Aldi used this book as a point for completely overhauling the mechanisms section in Board Game Geek. There was an uproar. I'm not going to get into that. That's kind of out with the remit of my current thoughts on this book, but for sure, this book is amazing. And also, you could get a lot of value out of just going through Board Game Geek if you don't have the money, but you do have an internet connection. Then go through Board Game Geek, read through the different mechanisms, and you'll probably get a similar amount of information if you then also have time to look at the examples and work out what the examples are. You'll learn so much through that. But if you're someone who likes to have something to read on, maybe you're going through public transport, maybe you're going on a train journey somewhere, maybe you want to be away from a computer screen, I don't know, maybe you just like books for whatever reason, this is honestly the most... I cannot overstate, I don't think I can overstate what an amazing book this is and how big the repercussions of this book are going to be. And I would recommend it to everyone who A, has the money to buy it, B, is, you know, able to read, or like even if you take a year to read through it, and C, has an interest in board games and wants to really get to know board games. This is... So for now, this is the end of this bit. And I'll say that this game is a hit. So that is the end of my current thoughts. And again, hello, Miles Atkinson. And so Miles, for those who don't know, is and just to explain, while I'm reviewing stuff, I am going to be a bit more sort of, how can I put it, focused on this, because I'm going to get Chris to cut these up and then put them on Board Game Geek. But Miles is lovely, and thank you for watching. Miles is also working on letter shapes for Couple, which is going to be either the second or third. It depends, you know, on the timelines of how long Miles takes. It's going to be the second or third bespoke L deck. And the first, of course, being Categorical, which... do I have any art for Categorical around me? No, not really. The closest I've got is these printouts. So that's the sort of letter shape that Categorical is going to have. Categorical is very... but it's going to be all colourful. Literally all the colours of the rainbow. That's not the final painting. That's just me exploring the letter shapes. Anyway, so... and whilst I've been thinking about a game focused on one thing... actually, this is a brief tangent. You know, being inspired by other stuff around you. Like, I was inspired by Fog of Love and Fast Forward to be like, okay, let's go through the box. Like, when you open it, you should be able to open up all the cards and just be able to have the game teach it to you. And I think, like, Categorical and Couple are both really good games for this. And then there's going to be, like, obviously the roll sheet and an info sheet, and then the third sheet of paper, which will be just the achievements. And then the achievements will be things like, okay, achieve this score, but also achieve this score without communication. And hey, maybe play in a cafe together, or play with someone that you've known for over 10 years. Play with someone that you just met this year, and like kind of encouraging you to play with different people and encouraging you to do fun things. Like Categorical, the achievements are literally just the months of the year, so and the different topics, and free for choose your own topics. But you know, I'm really excited for having Categorical, Couple, and Alphabetical are going to be the next 3 L games. Anyway, so that is that. But next, I was going to talk about rocks, and let me, I'll call this an actual review, because I do not, expect to reviewing rocks. I should have probably designed by, if I was more, I'm actually going to, it's 2 to 4 players, 7+ Here's 15 minutes by, let me actually copy paste from Board Game Geek. Rocks, because Günther Buchert, this is a hard thing to say, but yeah, there we go. And I can get the umlaut by copying it in. Günther Buchert, you are watching me, copy and pasting. I'm sure this is not particularly riveting, but hey, I apologize. But hopefully this is entertaining for your ears and eyes. And so, let's go on with rocks. Rocks. Board games, it's what I'm talking about. Board game, I'm not gonna shout. Rocks is a game that's all about speed. In Rocks, I'll explain, well, what you need is to look at all these symbols around and think which is the most prevalent that you found. Here, for example, white only has 4, but yellow has 5, which is 1 more. So then you'd be searching for another yellow one and grab another yellow one, then repeat, hey, isn't this fun? So 3 things, then 4 things, okay, it's yellow again. And then it's green, and then blue, maybe. And then you carry on, and you keep on going until the game is finishing. It seems to me like some are a bit easier, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 compared to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That feels sometimes easier. I'm not sure why, but this, surely we all agree, having one entire side is quite easy. It is quite clear. I mean, red doesn't have quite as much. It isn't even near. Or the others, it isn't even near. I mean, for the red, it is near because, there's only 1 red missing. But, it's so obvious. And then you've got this where it's like, okay, what is it? Okay, it's yellow. And it takes me an extra second to find that, and then I need to hunt for the yellow. And everyone's doing this simultaneously. Everyone's like trying to be as quick as possible. And then boom, let's say you're playing until a certain number. I can't even remember what the number is. Officially you, and then end is a 6th card. So let me go over my biases. I got this game for free. I mean, this is going to be, yeah, wow, I've gotten so many games for free. I got this game for free from Indie Game Alliance, which is a thing where if you demonstrate games, then you get points for those games, and then with those points, you have to turn them into games. So basically, you essentially, for every game that you demonstrate for 15 minutes, you get $1 worth of credit. So theoretically, if you were, like at a convention running 4 tables of games, and you were teaching all 4 of those people, then for every hour, you would get $16 worth of games. Now, I used to do this. I used to do this at a convention that I frequented. I used to do lots of Indie Game Alliance games, especially back in the day when I didn't have so many things. And it was like, hey, I'm going to show these off. I'm going to prioritize showing these off because it is an Indie Game Alliance game. And if I can show that I've played it, if I mention that I've played it, and maybe I upload some photos, then I get more credits. And with those credits, I get more games. And it's great. It's like more games, more things to play, more credits. And I've gotten some lovely games via that. And I would absolutely recommend that anyone watching this who doesn't feel like they have enough games, but does sometimes demonstrates games in a public setting, which might not be a great thing right now, but I think they are actually changing the rules for 2020. I've not checked in depth, but I think it's even, I think that Indie Game Alliance, you are allowed to do online stuff right now just for 2020. Anyway, the point is, I would recommend anyone who wants to get more games and enjoys demonstrating games to check them out. Anyway, that is my thing. Also, I like Haba. I am motivated to say nice things about them because I would like to design a game for them. I went and I saw them like at Toy Fair Nuremberg. I wandered around, and some of the booths you can just wander around freely. Some of the booths, they have someone at the front who says, "Hey, wait a minute, who are you?" And I'm like, "Okay, and they're like, "Okay, you can come in and check out our stuff," because within the toy industry, as you get more into toys, it becomes a bit more, we don't want you to steal our things. Anyway, so rocks. Having said all that, what do I think of rocks? And these are my couple of business cards that I just had there because I had this game at a convention and I wanted people to know that was my game. So I've explained how it is. You pick up a card, you look at what is the most prevalent. Here it is yellow because there's 4 yellows, there's not so many of the other things, and all of these cards should be in a big pile. And yellow, okay, I grab this yellow and I'm grabbing, okay, what do I grab? There's 4 yellows. Is it yellow again? Yes, it looks like it is yellow again. Okay. And now is it yellow again? Yes, it looks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Woof, it's white. Dodged a thing. And you could keep going. Now, the standard rules are you're only meant to go for 6. Obviously, I did more. So let me show you the second part of the game, which is the slightly gimmicky bits when you're checking. So you look at the back, and then you do this. And let me see if I can get the camera to show what's going on. Basically, if you remove all the red, if you remove all the white, so you see it's just like a faint black pattern, you do that, and you can just about see that the icon matches that one. And so it basically gives you the answer on the back. This is showing that the icon matches that one. This is showing that it is the lines as seen on here. Can you actually let me you can just about you need to press the card really hard against the thing, and it's not the easiest to tell, but you can sort of do it. It's not like, whoa, this is, honestly, like when I look at it with the cards, if I were cheating, I'd be like, yeah, I thought like I got that wrong. Yeah, I would be kind 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I got that wrong. So that's completely wrong. But if I'm cheating, like I can say, okay, yeah, that is that one. Yep, I can see. I don't need to put the red on it. Yep, this is the diamond. Clearly, this is that. This is, yep, that is that. And that is, yep, it is. No, that's that. Wait, I think I changed the order. That. And so that is the gimmick of the game. The gimmick of the game is that you're meant to put the red sheets, and it's like, whoa, we have this cool way of learning whether we were right or not, and it's kind of meant to be magical. It doesn't work as well as it could. I don't know whether it's to do with the thickness of this or the fact that one side is frosted or what, or the fact that there's a little lip. If it were flush against the card, yeah, when I press hard against it, it's like being flush. I don't know why it has this little lip. I mean, this lip, just hypothesizing, but it feels like a thin sheet. It would have been harder to pick up. And so maybe they did the lip just to make it easier to kind of pick up and put down, but then in turn it makes it slightly harder to see, which is not great. So yeah, I'm not a massive fan of that part of it. What do I love about it? Because, I love something about every game. And what I love about this is, the simplicity and the core aspects of, okay, there are so many games about speed, grabbing, and how do you tell what is the next thing that you should grab? Now, you can do it like Grabble, where it's okay, there's got to be an identical match in something. You can do it like Pick a Pig or Pick a Pog, where it's okay, it's got to be close enough, or it could be one step away, and then that allows you to carry on. This is, as far as I'm aware, this is a unique mechanism, counting symbols around the edge. See what symbol is the most prevalent, and then you need to grab that particular symbol. That's quite a nice thing. And so I think that I fundamentally like what they've done with this central mechanism. I do really like it. It's new, it's unique, and if you like speed games about quickly grabbing things and thinking quickly and being a bit manic, then this is a great game for that. Now, I have some... Let's look at the rules. Let's look at the box. It does... Okay, 2 to 4 players. Yep, it's true. It says 2 to 4 players. I would almost say that you could do it 5 players. Obviously, the more players you get, the more manic and chaotic it's going to be. Age 7 plus. I would say that you could definitely go lower. I think that fundamentally, yeah, for a smaller child, you're going to have to really dumb it down, or maybe you say, okay, I need to do 8 and you do 4 because you're only 5 years old. But if I could have a good game of this against a 5-year-old, not, obviously playing with a handicap, but I think that we could both be playing the same game. We're both grabbing from the center, and we're both being like, okay, I need to grab 8, you need to get this many. And that's his rocks. I want to say, so the idea is we shout out rocks, start the game, and then everyone has, you've got your one hand that you keep in your hand, and as soon as someone has the 6 cards, so that's it, and then you get one of these points. And yeah, everyone, then you have some of these points. The person who has the longest line gets the biggest one. The person with the second longest line gets the second biggest one. The person with the third longest line gets the third biggest one, and so forth. And you're just kind of playing with some of these cards face up, and yeah, and you're meant to play after 5 rounds, which is why 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the limiting factor for the number of players. You could play with 5 players, but then say, okay, only the first 3 gets cards, or you could play with fewer rounds. You could say, okay, you know what, I'm going to get... Yeah, the number of rounds is fairly arbitrary, to be honest. I think that there's no real reason for it to be this set number. All that matters is there's 15 scoring cards, and 15 scoring cards are going to be distributed. I want to talk about this because this is a really interesting choice. So in a 2-player game, And this is where it gets kind of harsh in a two-player game, because, okay, there's one player who doesn't get anything, but again, like, especially in a kids' game, that feels kind of harsh. I like the fact that, okay, we've got things of different sizes. I don't like the fact that we've got 6 or 9. Yep, it's just, seriously, could you not just have, you don't need so many numbers. The only reason they wanted so many numbers is to ensure that's a random deal. You aren't going to have too many of the same thing. But I don't know, it feels like you could have doubled up on some of the things, because hey, you're doubling up on 7s. Let's actually examine these things for a moment. Just let's ponder them. So what they've done, let's imagine mathematically that someone is going to, that we are getting players -1. And so with a 3-player game, you can get 2. If there's at least 2 of a thing, then that means that that could be duplicated, in which case there is literally no benefit in having more than your opponents, which seems immensely unsatisfying. Now it constrains it from the 3 to 7, which, but why only 1 9? Why not just get rid of these and double up, you know, these numbers? Yeah, why 3 6? Why 2 6s and a 9? That just feels weird to me. And also, if it's meant to be a kids game, maybe this is the part that they felt, okay, someone under 7 might have trouble adding up these numbers, because once you've got random 5, okay, it's 6 plus 2 is 8, plus 7 is 15, is 22 plus 3 is 25. And sure, for a child, that might take a bit of effort. It's one of those games where you can play with younger people if they're getting some help. But I don't know, the whole scoring system, I don't like it, sorry. The fact that with 2 players, one person gets a thing, one person doesn't, that's incredibly harsh. The fact that with 3 players, the 2 first players could get 5 points, second player gets nothing, that feels arbitrary and annoying. I would almost prefer the pick-a-pig mechanism of let's go, let's play around, then let's do some more. And I would go for, I think that number of cards being equated to how well you've done is a nice thing. The checking, I get that you don't want to have too many cards to check because it's not that exciting. And having multiple rounds, it punctuates things. But yeah, this scoring, I'm of the opinion of, who cares? That's not a great thing in the game. The rules are reasonably well written. It's in 5 languages. I can't comment on the other ones. It feels a bit weird having this blank sheet. I hadn't actually looked at that for quite a while. So yeah, we've got, and obviously the game itself is language independent. Overall, it's good. It's good. The counting around the edges, that's a really clever thing. But I just feel like the scoring system, it's both overly complicated for what it's trying to do, and yeah, it feels like it needs some house ruling to be really enjoyable. Maybe it's just me. I feel like this had the potential, and I'm not a fan of this kind of a wildly fun cards game on the front, where it's like, oh, wow, Okay, I don't mind this bit on the back where it's like, okay, precise observation and velocity. That's what we're testing here. So you know, okay, if you want to test maths or strategy, this is not a game for you. If you want to test precise observation and velocity, apparently velocity is a better word than speed for these people, which I still find kind of weird. But anyway, I give this game, it's somewhere around here. Like, I give this game, I think, a thumb up. I think it's good. Depending on for me personally, it's like a blank neutral. For like the counting bits and around the edges and finding which is more prevalent, you know, it's a simple idea. I've not seen it before. Double thumbs up. For the scoring, for the distribution, for the 669, really, really strongly disliked it. And I almost feel like you could have made these scoring cards a little bit easier to count. Like, imagine if these cards, if they had like a number of stars on them equal to the number, then you could actually go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. For a smaller child, that might be really good to bring them into the fold. And it feels like I don't know whether it's still in print, but if it's not, I hypothesize that it's all because of this slightly overcomplex, slightly weird scoring system. I think that by mixing this with the number of cards is how many it says, someone, just shove some number of cards into the middle, and that can be done by the adults, like deal some number of cards. And if there's nothing that you can find, then, you know, do the pick a pig thing, where I think that the pick a pig gameplay but then it's like how people feel obliged to add new stuff. But no, you don't need to. Sometimes just having one new thing is enough. You don't need to make the scoring new and the way that you determine which next card you pick up new. It felt like, I don't know, I was about to say it felt like it was trying to be too clever for its own good, but maybe that's me reading a bit too much into it. I like this game. Will I keep this game? Part of me wants to say yes, but part of me wants to say, like, hey, Dina, maybe this is a game for you, or maybe someone else with a child. You'll probably get a lot more joy out of this game than I would. So I'm probably not going to keep it. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I've given it genuinely a single thumbs up. But this is one of the games that I'm going to put on my to sell list. So yeah, if you want that game, then let me know. And I hope that you've been entertained or informed. And that is, now we come towards the end of this opinion. And I hope you've had a good time, my friend. I hope that this has been interesting. And I'm finishing this by singing. Bye-bye for this section. Okay. So, that is that game. Now, I think I will go through all 3 games that I said at the start. I will talk quickly about my first impressions. Games. Look here, this box is clearly too big, and I'm not happy about this thing. This also comes in an envelope. One day all boxes will be appropriately sized, I hope. You get lots of counters that do many different things. Sorry. So you've got ones and fives and even a 10. And houses for each player that might be playing. Blue and red, this is who you are. It's all about building and seeing if you can go far. So you've got your green people who are communal, and that feels kind of original. Later on, through the harbour, maybe you can buy a little person who may be a woman or a man, or maybe a gender-neutral person, I don't know. And now I'm finding that kind of annoyed by the fact that I wish they were double-sided. But hey-ho. The other side, it tells you how you can get it. For example, if I zoom in, this is the sailing ship, and here it is again. So this is the one you can only access if you have built the village. Okay, I'm going to stop singing because I'm struggling to find the rhymes. But basically, this is the way that the game is set up. You have these little people, and yeah, I just wish that it was like green in the middle. That would be nice. And yeah, also I don't like the way that like, let's talk about things being different shapes. Like, it's okay, these feel like they're marginally different sizes, which I genuinely appreciate. Genuinely. Because then that means that everything's at this particular size. Okay, it's a worker, and these sizes reflect the money, and this size is the lender token, which is marginally smaller by about a millimeter than this, but you can't really tell unless you're putting them next to each other. And okay, these feel the same size, but actually, yeah, I couldn't tell the difference. Oh, okay, that feels. Look, why not have like a square edge? Why not have like a triangle? Why not have other shapes? And then there's just another source of the information. You've got this lender token. This lender token has nothing to do with the money. And that's kind of confusing because, okay, you've got these people, and these people are almost as big as the 10. And but when it's on the other side, it's like, okay, P, because having the lender token is actually worth negative points at the end, and you can pay money to get rid of it. But it's so unique that I would argue that really you should be. Sorry, I'm already complaining about the thing. I've not talked about what this game is, what all my biases are, or what I think of it. This is completely superfluous, in my opinion. This is start token marker is kind of weirdly superfluous because once you've started the game, it doesn't matter who the start player was. It's not as if you play through until the end of a round. The start player is the person who finishes the game. And so, anyway, let's let me explain broadly what province is all about. Let's say I am the red player. On my turn, and first player I think starts with 2, second player starts with 3. Yep. Let's say red was first and blue was second. So red player moves this person here, and for landing on this space, you get some money. Then I could, if I wanted, move these people over here and get some labor. And I'm thinking, okay, if I have free money and 2 labor, maybe I can build something. But the lender isn't that great a thing to get off, really. Might also be looking at what the objectives are, because here you have a bunch of objectives: to get houses, to have 5 money, to get 10 money, and I am aware that having, it just feels really weird, having other objectives, having 5 labor, having 3, oh, I can't remember this for goodness sake, yeah, 3 people on 1 space, having 2 workers that are not the green workers, having 4 money, which is, or sorry, spending this much money, not just having it. And this one, you need to grind twice in a turn, which grinding means take 2 labor and take money. So as first player, I could just stop there and not take the labor, because, and this is where the interesting parts of this game comes in, where anything that I'm moving, my opponent can also move, because we both have access to the same people. So let's say I went there and there, and you flip them around to show that you've used them. The labor you don't get to keep from turn to turn, the money you do get to keep from turn to turn. And then it's like, okay, I've used everything, I've got 2 labor, 3 money. Okay, well, clearly maybe I make a camp. That seems like a good first turn move. I pay my free money, and boom. Now they flip over, and now blue is allowed to make a move. So blue might do the same thing, rotate all of these, and oh, what camp means is that the little person from the camp goes here, and now red has access to it. So blue's like, okay, what am I going to do? I've got 4 money and 2 labor, because, yeah, in case that, move that, 4 money, move, you always move 1 space, move that. Okay, I've got 4 money, 2 labor. What am I going to do? I could go here, I could have access to the same thing, or I could go for a mill, and the mill gives me automatically more labor, which might be pretty good. Yep, I'm going to get the mill, because also the first person to build anywhere gets a victory point. And so where the other person builds, this is a nice little interaction. If blue had built here, then red would have 1 victory point, blue 0. But here it kind of shows what you're getting. And then note that the 2 victory point places, for example, the smithy gives you 2 victory points, because hence the 2 little diamonds. I don't know if you can see that clearly enough. Let me, so there's 2 little diamonds here. And so here, blue would have 2 victory points and be like, boom, yeah, in your face, red. And red would have gotten other stuff by that point anyway. So let's say it's 2 and 3, and blue's like, boom. And now they flip over, and now red's got access to this person, which is pretty cool. And red's going to get 1 money, 2 labor, 3 labor. So 1 money and 3 labor. Okay, you know what? Maybe red didn't move that person. Red moved these 3. And so that's 2 money and 1 money and 2 labor, not 3 labor. And then you're converting 2 of the labor into money. You're passing the turn. And then this is where the interesting bit comes in, because the reason that red didn't move this is because these are communal people. And if red had moved this one here for an extra labor, which would not have been much use, then red would have ended up allowing blue to get extra money. But now blue is kind of scuppered. Blue's thinking, okay, what do I get? Well, I either get free labor, or I basically cannot get labor. I mean, cannot get money. And so labor's think, I mean, blue's thinking, okay, what do I do? Oh my gosh. And so maybe blue, yeah, I'm not going to get so deep and do a whole playthrough, but there's a lot, despite it being quite a short game, despite it being a simple to set up game, there is a lot going on. And it's like, okay, each of these things, it does something like camp. It allows you access to a worker that only you have access to, and potentially to opponents if they build in after you. Village, it's another one that you have access to. Where's the village? Where did those pieces? Oh, here. And so that's the village token, and then I'd have access to both of these. The union, it allows you to convert money into labor. Harbor allows you to get random results each time. And so you're throwing these dice, and either you get 1 extra money, or you get 1 extra labor if it's double white, or if it's one of each, which is going to be twice as common. Then you're allowed to pay 3 money for a permanent worker, which only you can ever use, which is really nice. Mill gives you bonus labor. Smithy gives you bonus labor. Lender gives you access to something from the other person. Bank gives you 2 bonus money, which can be very nice. Sorry, bank doubles the money. Bank doubles, so every time you get an income, you double that income, which is amazing. And so it's all about this engine building. It's all about boom, 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 get your stuff going. Once all of these buildings have been built, that is the end of the game. Alternatively, if I think it's as many of these as you put out, I think it's 5. This is where I am very unprepared. Yep, 5 of them. You show 1 of them at a time. And if we go through all of these bonus achievements where, boom, I got 10 money, so I take this. Boom, I spent 4 money, or what is that one? I feel like that's that many worth of buildings. You've got to build 2 structures that are worth 2 victory points. You've got to have built 2 of these. And so once either 5 of these have been done or all of these have been built, essentially the game ends and you add up victory points. You add up victory points from your buildings, victory points from these, and that is the game. So fundamentally, it's a game of turn, get work and get money, get labor, turn work and labor to use them to build things, use those buildings in order to get more work and labor, and it's engine building. This could be applied to so many thousands of games, but what is really nice here, what's interesting, what's different, is this kind of shared board where you are moving things around, you are thinking about what the opponents will go. The fact that it's a real race to get each of these buildings, like if we decide that this is the correct first turn move, well then what is the second turn move? At a certain point, I think it is probably going to be mapped out that this is the correct way to do these things, but it's such a wonderful kind of way to thing to ponder. And I'm certainly quite far from working out the puzzle myself. I mean, when I say I'm quite far, like I feel like I'm playing well, but I'm certainly nowhere near mathematical optimization. I feel like these buildings that you've got, there's a lot of interesting things, like, you know, the camp with your little people, it now builds up, it changes things, and your opponent, based on what your opponent is going to be moving, it's kind of got a feeling of worker placement because you're kind of interrupting your opponents and you're stopping them from doing particular things, but still it's got this shared ownership, which I've not seen in a lot of places. So yeah, this is just a really interesting, really lovely game, and I'm loving it. I say first impressions, but I have played it. So I originally bought the envelope version of the game at a really cheap price, like I'm talking 1 or 2 quid. Then I got this one at a really cheap price, like 1 or 2 quid, as part of a job lot. Like I got about 25 quid games for like 50 quid, something like that. Or maybe it was a ridiculous number. It was all from the Mark Cook of Aircon. And anyway, this is a really nice game. I'm probably going to play it a wee bit more with Layla, and then I feel like I'll probably be pretty much done with it. Because, like a lot of games of this ilk, when you've got someone who knows the game better, there is, interestingly, other than the harbor, which does give you a fair bit of randomness because you shake those dice and either you get. The harbor is the only thing that introduces randomness to this game. So everything else you could completely chess out and argue that this is a perfect information and abstract strategy game if it were not for the harbor. And this is a bit superfluous, this little tracker. It kind of reminds you how much labor you have for that one turn. So if you can't remember, if you have short-term memory issues, then this is a nice little thing because, oh yeah, I got 4 labor. And it feels a little bit superfluous. The crown feels completely superfluous. I don't even understand what this is for. Do you give it to the start player just to say, oh, start player 1 again? Because, and it's a nice game. I think I will need a bit variable setup or some way to make it a brilliant game. I would like to make it, something where you can have a bit more randomness, some cards that kind of do some certain things. I mean, there is also the randomness of the unseen, because you only get to see 1 out of the 5 bonus victory point conditions at a time. So you might be like, okay, what's the next thing? It might be buildings, it might be the other thing. So you might have to kind of take a probabilistic chance of, okay, what are we actually going for? I would almost prefer if with those achievements, if they were all face up, because I feel like having them all face up would have allowed me to do a bit more strategy, and it would have ironically changed it more from game to game. But I don't feel like this is. There's nothing super amazing about it. There's a bunch of nice ideas. I feel like maybe with a wee bit more development, but as a game that comes in this size of box for the supposedly deluxe one, no, I can't. How much would I pay for it? If you have one person, who is this game for? Who is this game best for? It's good for if you've got a partner, like a board gaming play partner that you play board games with, and you're at a similar level of skill, and you're going to have fun learning about a new game yourselves, and you don't mind that eventually you're going to have worked it all out. I think it's a fine game. I'm going to probably put it up for sale within a few months before I head to Thailand, so this will be another one. But I believe that it is a good game. Just because I'm selling it doesn't mean it's a bad game. I give this game 1 thumbs up. And that is now the end of my thing. And to finish, I'm going to sing. I will talk more about this game later, I guess, because why did I call it the first impressions? I don't know, but was it? I guess yes. So that is my impression of that. So now, final games. I might skip movable type. Is there anyone in the chat who actually wanted to hear about movable type? Because I could give my opinion in. I feel like this is a game that I'm going to keep, and I beat the solo thing on my first turn, but I am quite good at word games. I've played a few, and I feel like the solo game, it's very interesting. Rob and David did a great job of it. The notion that each round you're trying to battle around particular letters, but your scoring each round only determines what cards you're able to draft. So it's like there's a draft priority based on how good a word you made. And then it's all about the score in the final round. So those are both really interesting things. And unless anyone in the comments really wanted to hear about that, I'm going to skip that for today and just talk about inhuman conditions. Let me erase this because this is there. There we go. And I will squish that. There we go. Okay. Board games. It's a board game I'm talking about. Inhuman conditions. I'm not gonna shout. This is a game with fancily shaped cards. There's a bit of role playing, but it's not too hard. And these, as you can see, are the penalty. And the whole game is for 2 players, where one player says, "What are we? Are you a robot or are you human?" You need to decide based on some questions. First, you get a choice of what your role is. For example, here, you might be a dealer or a criminal or a theorist. So, yeah, I unboxed this game a while back, and there's a little stand. There's a sheet. It showed that you actually put punches on with these things because they are actually little stamps. And then it's like, this is what I suspected, and I was wrong because this is my signature. Layla was actually a robot. I thought they were a human. And here, Layla thought I was a human, and Layla is correct. Here, I thought Layla was a robot, but Layla was a human. So, you see, I'm terrible at this game. But Layla guessed correctly. But Layla doesn't want to play this anymore because Layla does not like role-playing or social deduction. So if you do not like social deduction, this is not the game for you. This is a 2-player social deduction game with a healthy dose of role-playing and play acting. I am really impressed by it so far. What are my biases? Well, I got this via Kickstarter, and so I guess there's that sort of because I paid money for it, now I might want to like it. I got to, so I can't remember how much I paid. I got it sometime later. When I unboxed it, when I got it, I let it be for quite a while because I was like, you know what? I've got other 2-player games that I want to play. I'm not super excited by this one, but then I did an unboxing and I was, wow, this is really exciting. I will say that I was a bit annoyed that I had to sort out all these cards because there's all these modules, and for each module you get like an overview sheet which tells you this is what's going to happen. One person is the interrogator, one person's the suspect. The suspect might be a human or might be a robot. Imagine a Blade Runner style situation. So for the introductory one, I'll ask you some questions about normal everyday things. And then you've got some primary and secondary questions, which primary, I might be talk about something they do regularly, and it's got ideas. What do you do for a living, or what's your favorite hobby? Share some information about their personal background. Where did you grow up, or how many siblings you have? And the idea is that these secondary things explain how something they mentioned affects other people in their life. I need to check these things and make sure, okay, do they do these things correctly? Are they human? If they don't manage to do these things, if they don't manage to answer my questions in a reasonable manner, that suggests that they might be a robot, because you see, secretly, with this stand, there are 12 cards which say whether you're a human or whether you're a violent robot. Violent robots need to do 3 of these things. Either describe 3 verbal disagreements, insult the investigator twice, or perform the penalty twice. Once you've done 3 of them, you wait 10 seconds, then you slap the table or rise up or something, and that basically means that you've managed to deprogram yourself and you're starting a killing spree. Conversely, you've got patient robots who need to be found out. Now, a patient robot can, for example, cannot express opinions. It may only state observable facts. And each violent robot will always have to perform the penalty twice as one of their 3 things, or they can do these 2 things, which will be unknown. And I am going to show spoilers just for the introduction, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 other modules after this. So this is really the idea. The idea is not that you play the introduction once and then play each of the other ones once. It's like that you play even once you know what these things are, you don't know whether the other person has gotten a card that you may not discuss anything that happened before you woke up this morning. I mean, for sure, if you memorized all of these things, it might change the game for the worse, but it's more about you asking these questions. Wait a minute, is there something that they're not telling us? Is there something weird that they're doing? Something that... Now, if a patient robot does something wrong, for example, if a patient robot mentions someone, if a patient robot mentions a friend, because this particular robot cannot mention anyone except strangers or enemies, then they've got to do this penalty. So they would answer 3 questions without referencing the background. And so with the penalty, then the patient robot, then the investigator notices, hey, wait a minute, this has just been done. If a human does this by accident, this is almost like something that the human should avoid doing, because if the human ever does it, then the investigator has cause to believe that they might be a patient robot covering themselves up, or alternatively, a violent robot performing the penalty twice to try and deprogram themselves. If you're a human, then you probably want to don't not use a double negative. Oh, wow, I like the way that they... So yeah, if a human wants to be like, you know what, I'm totally human, I'm going to put that there so you can clearly see that I'm never doing this. Whereas if you're a robot, maybe you want to actually being clear, I want to say that, yes, my name, I am human. Or that's probably a bit too obvious. If I were a robot, I might say, so this one day I did a really stupid thing, and like that, you can just... So as a robot, you're kind of thinking, how can I slip this into conversation? How can I deceive my opponents? Or like say 2 consecutive rhyming words. Oh dear, clearly I was not... And the investigator has to be paying attention. What is the robot doing? Are they a robot? Are they a human? And there's a lot of role-playing for sure. Wait a minute. This is meant to be the one that we specifically don't use. But answer a question in exactly 5 words. This is a kind of thing that you might have to keep your hand below the table and say, so what did you have for breakfast this morning? Beans on toast. That's it. And it's fun. Some games are all about the winning. Some games are ortho games where clearly whether you win or lose is aligned with what you should be doing to have a good game. This, I will say, is not one of those games. In this game, the investigator is a winner if they correctly identify the person. So I was a loser, Layla was a winner. Because Layla was a robot, Layla managed to deceive me. So congratulations to the robot. because in the fiction of the game, I'm accepting that some people are human. I'm letting them loose in society, but then the robots, they've managed to fool my cover. Here we both won. Layla knew that I was a human as an investigator. Layla correctly identified me. I correctly managed to pass as a human. So, boom. Here we both lost. And this is the interesting thing. When you're a human, you either both lose or you both win. Because I made a mistake and I thought that Layla was a robot. So I lose. But then Layla also loses. And so if you're one of these people who's like, well, we both lose is the same as we both win, then this is not going to be a game for you. You need to be kind of willing to accept the fiction of the world a little bit. You need to be willing to accept that, okay, I am trying to get you to do this. We are putting a name down that really doesn't mean anything. And it's about learning about this person. And sometimes you could do the modules and be talking about, okay, I am a motivational speaker, or I am a maker of false animals, which we did that one, and I decided that I was a taxidermist, or I'm a foreign ambassador, or I am a dean of a clown college. And you normally get like 3 choices, and then you choose one of them. But there's a good possibility of role-playing. There's also a possibility of just using it to get to know someone. And I'm super excited to use this as a conversational game where it's like, hey, Mina, let's, play this, and let's play it as our actual identities, if you fancy. And maybe, Mina, let's do that. Let's play it so we're pretending you're either yourself or a robot version of yourself. And there's something lovely about that. And it's a big box, but there's a whole bunch of cards. This is a lot of content to get through. And you can either treat it as a game of interrogation and working out this penalty. What's the other person doing? Are they ever doing this or not? And this is the thing that I have to watch out for. And really grilling them. And you could even play acts like as an interrogator, really being fast and furious with those questions. Like, do it like for, it's meant to be, I think, 5 minutes. And there's other like advanced modules. So it is a game for 2 players, but there's also, this is the training manual. I will say that the manual, it's I was unhappy with these components, because these components, it kind of so it's 11 interrogation modules. Okay, which ones are the investigator prompts? Which ones are the robots inducers? Okay, and once you work it out, okay, it all makes sense. But I would have really liked another couple of pages just for the game components, and I think that's just going to be a comment. And they had a blank page. I mean, the whole thing, yes, it's meant to look like a nice little thing. It's meant to fit into the box nicely, and it does, and it's got this whole aesthetic. And that's good, but it's just a bit harder to read than it should be. Because, it's not the nicest thing to read, with basically complete black and white and not many diagrams. I mean, when you kind of set this up, it would be nice if it was like some wee pictures of the setup. Anyway, there are these advanced rules for 3 to 6 players, for 4 or more players, or this one, which is 6 to 20 players. And so, in theory, these same components could go for games which are, all I have played is 3 games of this. I have been really enjoying this. I like the little magnetic thing to clasp. That's good. I like the box. I think that this is really interesting. There's nothing like it that I know of. Like a 2-player social deduction game. Like, it's kind of role-playing as well. And it's kind of, you could use it you could use it as role-playing. You could use it for just opening up. And let's talk about what are the other modules. Hold on a minute. I'm going to... So the other modules are small talk, then creative problem solving, imagination, but then hopes and dreams, which is, okay, what do you really... And body integration, grief, threats assessment, moral feelings, self-image, and recognizing intentions. And it's actually one of the things where it says if you do play as yourself, then please be aware that you can sort of tap out, because as an investigator, you are really trying to grow the other person. And so it can get emotionally difficult as the suspect. But this is, like, my first impressions, this is bleeping brilliant. Yeah, double thumbs up, without a shadow of a doubt. This is really, really good. First impressions. I will keep you updated probably in a few months, let you know, and like, you know, if I play it, I'll let you know for like literally 1 minute how it's going. But I am really excited by it. I'm really excited to have more conversations with it. I'm really excited to do more play acting with it. I'm really excited to do more ask the questions, get into the, you know, it's, yeah. And you're learning about each other. It's really good. I love it. Good job, people responsible for inhuman conditions. Wait, and now that's I'm going to mention, it's the end of this section. That is what I thought of the game. Inhuman Conditions is its name. I've so far only played it 3 times, but I'm very happy it's a game of mine. Yay. So that is Inhuman Conditions. Man, I'm running out of... Okay, that's a safe space to put it down. Boom. It's really heavy. It's full of stuff. It's really good. So let me remove that. And yep, that brings me to the end of my show. So to wrap up, what did I talk about? I thought there was something else. Did I? Oh yeah, I started off with Chocolate Factory. Chocolate Factory, I worked on it. I like it. Then you said this would be fun. I think it's a good book. I think consider buying it. Yeah, but just know that for me at least, I kind of, it comes from a very singular perspective, and there's some things about the style of writing that rubbed me the wrong way, but in terms of the information, I really appreciate all the information. Building blocks of tabletop game design, I think, is absolutely brilliant. I would recommend this to everyone. If you're watching this show right now, then you're probably really into board games, so you should almost certainly try this out, see what you think, because read through, like, learn about board games, even if you don't have any aspirations of being a board game designer. Learn about what mechanisms there are and what games are, maybe capable of. Then I talked about, I think I talked about Rocks first, which I said, yeah, I like it. It's like a thumbs up. And it's a good, solid game. The counting things, I'm going to get rid of it before I leave for Thailand for sure. Province, another one, I'm going solid thumbs up. I'm going to get rid of it before I leave for Thailand for sure. It's got a little bit, I kind of wish it had a bit more uncertainty. That's my thing. A bit more variable setup. Maybe some cards, but they probably didn't want to do cards because of cost. But yeah, for what it is, if you get it as a cheap game, if you're 2 players, if you want basically the feel of a Euro game, but like in 15-20 minutes, actually this is a really good choice. And I can't think of, honestly, basically the only really nice 2-player Euro-ish games that play in that short space that I've experienced are burger joints, I want to say. Is it burger joints or burger time? The one by with where one person's burgers and one person's pizza. I should bring that out and review that next week. Oh no, wait. I'll talk about next week in a minute. But yeah, really good game. Actually, I'm kind of talking myself out of getting rid of it, but I kind of need to get rid of stuff. And am I going to want to play it? It's a really good game, but someone else who would play it more. And then in Human Condition, oh yeah, I talked about Jixie Academy. Yeah, Jixie Academy is like a downgrade from Hanamakoji. Yeah, because Jixie Academy, Pretty Boys, what's not to like? Great, but in terms of if you're buying it for the Pretty Boys, you don't get as much card art of the Pretty Boys, because with Hanamakoji you get the 4 alternatives. With Jixia you don't, and with Jixia you do get like a little bit of tiles, but Jixia it's not as good for colorblind folk. And in Human Conditions, I am very excited to play more, and that is my recap. I have been BEZ. If you want to check me out, then stuffbybez.com, stuffbybez.bigcartel.com is where you can buy my stuff. Twitter.com/stuffbybez. Please feel free to follow me. Instagram.com/stuffbybez. Yeah, go on to Instagram. I post pictures today, or maybe tomorrow morning. I'll post a schedule. Twitch.tv/stuffbez, where I stream every day at 10 a.m. UK time, and also at Tuesdays, 8 p.m. UK time, although that might change during Christmas. I'm not sure. And I'll probably do some occasional things. But yeah, also I wanted to mention that I've decided that next weekend, Saturday, I am actually going to travel. I'll keep that going there. And oh yeah, join the Discord for the BEZ and Friends Game Day. Please go to stuffbybez.com/Discord, and then that will redirect you to the Discord. But it has to be in lowercase. Oh, and hello, Bram. It's lovely to see you. Good morning to you. And Fishmoo, thank you for joining us. I think this is the first time you've seen this. I don't know who you are, but I'm so glad that you found it of value. And yeah, I want to say thank you, everyone. Like, thank you for being here. Thank you to everyone who makes this possible. Thank you to like the moderators who like are here like so much of the week, and thank you to Chris who sets up my camera for that. Thank you to people who've given me free games or books, or given me cheap games because they didn't sell at Terracon or Indie Game Alliance. I really appreciate it. And thank you to like I guess Jigamic for giving me money for Yogi on a regular basis and allowing me to buy fancy things and feel like I can afford to buy really fancy things. And I do kind like legally, I think it's totally fair. I would consider this a business expense because it's a kind of learning about the games, learning about the possibility space of what's out there. I mean, look, something like this, it helps you, and this gives you so many ideas for what's possible, but it's all about what's actually happening in the games. And you need to experience that within the game. Learn about what you enjoy compared to other people. And my tastes run very much towards I want to know how long a game is going to last. I want to be able to play with a variety of people with the same game. I like to not be ensured that I'm going to win just because I've spent more time studying the game. I'd like there to be some sort of way that someone can throw a wrench in my works, or some way that other people can be involved in the game. But anyway, thank you to you. And we finish up with the over to you. What are you up to? You can share anything you want to. So are you looking forward to a meal? Are you getting up for breakfast? I mean, Bram, I guess it's like, what time is it over there? It feels pretty early in the USA. But yeah, are you looking forward to a meal? I am going out on a walk today. I am going to go out and The rain stopped coming. It was pouring down earlier, but I'm going to go out. I'm going to go for a bit of a walk while it's still light, because it is really, really cloudy. I mean, I would say that it's a white sky, but it's not. It's more like a dark grey sky in London, at least in North London today. I'm going to do that. I'm going to look forward to eating something that was prepared for me by my amazing housemate. I'm also going to try and gear up, like kind of tidy up my stuff in the communal areas, because I am going to go to see my parents in Saturday, and so I don't think that this will interrupt my streaming. I might make a lot of my future streams quite short. Next weekend, I won't have games to. I certainly won't have a overhead camera, because I'm not going to take this big tripod thing with me. I might. I mean, I could do it with the camera and be like, "Whoa, check it out," and be like, "Okay, so looking at this part of the book, and this is a good page, and this is another good page," and then kind of have a little handy cam, and maybe that would, like a roaming camera. I could do that when I'm up, but I'm not going to. Yeah. Sorry, I need to plug this in, otherwise it messes everything up. Oh yeah, that's the point. I need to have my take my bad headphones with me. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do next Sunday. In theory, I'm going to be reviewing something, but it'll be whatever I take up with me, and then future Sundays will not involve reviews. It might involve like further thoughts. It might involve me reviewing like stuff that happened in the week. It might involve me reviewing other things. Maybe I will review food. Who knows? I will give thoughts on things. Anyway, after I go up to Glasgow, my streams are probably going to be shorter for at least a couple of weeks. And that's why if you go to my next streams, then you can look up stuffabez.com/streams and you will see my schedule. But Fishmoo is in London and is going to try Civilization New Dawn and the expansion with a housemate for the first time later with a Sunday roast. That sounds amazing. I hope you have a good week as well. Thank you for watching. And Brambeard Gaming says it's 7 a.m. That's a good solid time to be getting up. No plans for today. Got the kiddo. So lots of playing, I assume. That sounds like a lot of fun. Oh man. And so what, we've all got good stuff sorted. It sounds like we've all got, you know what, I might play a solo game. I might finally play Friday by Friedman Fries, which I've still never played. I got it and then I was turned off by the instructions. I'm easily turned off by instructions, arguably. But yeah, what am I doing tomorrow? I'm going to quickly check. Oh yes, I am talking to Vegard about educational games. We're going to be talking for a couple of hours about what is an educational game. How can you educate people via games? Let's talk about it. And then Tuesday, supporting playtesters, group chats with Janice Turner, Alan Paul, and Jess Hancock. Tuesday, I will be playing something in the evening. Wednesday, we'll be talking about inspiration with Lost Bros. Thursday, I'm hoping to be talking about board game rentals, but, you know, my guest hasn't double confirmed with me yet. Friday will always be chaotic, and there will be no topic. This coming Saturday, next week, will be all about crafting and making board games yourself. And then after that, the week after, I do have a possible dental appointment on either the 21st or 22nd. But yeah, anyway, you will be hearing about that. If I can't stream, then I'll just do it via my mobile phone for like 5 minutes and say, hey, this is a stream, that's all that's happening. And yeah, Friday is fun. I should call it that. It's a fun Friday, friendly Friday forum. Fun, friendly Friday forum. Friendly, fun Friday forum. Anyway, that's not the point. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It's been lovely. If you have enjoyed this, feel free to share, spread the word, and would people, how are people feeling? Shall I raid? Oh, and the, oh, okay. Fish Moo meant the game Friday is fun. Okay, I thought you were saying, okay, because Friday it's just like chaos and we just kind of answer questions. But yep, gotcha. Sorry about that. Anyway, Raid, if you're watching on Twitch, do you have any opinions? We could, let me see who else is doing stuff. Helenus? Oh, D. Oh, it's Kalinsky. I know that D is lovely, but I'm not keen on video games. So like, I will suggest a music thing. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention was that when I go up to Glasgow, if I can sort it out, I might play some keyboard potentially. So look forward or be scared of some potential musical streams. Also, I'm thinking of doing a Twitch Sings. Let me know what you think of that. Should I try Twitch Sings or should I not? For those who want to listen to more stuff or watch more stuff, go and check out Dude Kalinsky. Very lovely musician. They're great at what they do. And the only thing left for me to say now is to say bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Now bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye.